Chapter 141. The great red-coat archer, Mr. Lu Sun, once said that we should fight scoundrels with scoundrels and scoundrels with scoundrels with scoundrels. Sun Lang snapped his fingers. That's why Ardwolf was able to use the infinity sword to create the king's treasure. He remembered Brother Sun's back and followed Mr. Lu Sun's instructions. Also, Jean Pika wanted to steal Ardwolf King. To Ardwolf, this intruder was obviously a mistress. So, even after Rede died and was nailed to the coffin, he would use his decaying right hand to shoot him with a flying dagger. Everyone looked at Sun Lang in confusion. Zhang Yinluo rolled his eyes. Please, don't say things that we don't understand. Let's get to the point. The main point is, since Stick, who is a hooligan and played dirty with me, then there's no need to talk about Jianghu morality with him. Sun Lang said gloomily, capture his wife and daughter. Zhang Yinluo said angrily, you want to capture a leader whose wife and daughter? Are you trying to kill them? Daoist by Shui was surprised. Huh? Why would you say that? Master Sun isn't a bloodthirsty person, and he doesn't need to kill people. There's something you don't know. Sun Lang glared at Zhang Yinluo awkwardly. That's just an exaggeration. We've been wandering around outside for half a day. We've done everything we could. We've thought of everything we could think of, but it's all useless. Hu Shouxin wants to hide, but Mingzhou City is so big that we don't know where to start looking. As he said that, he glanced at Daoist by Shui. I thought that since you called yourself a disciple of Xingyang Palace, you must have some tricks up your sleeve. I didn't expect you to be so useless. Under the gazes of the other three girls, Daoist by Shui revealed an ashamed expression. I'm sorry. That horned tiger has some skills. In a hurry, I didn't bring many of my equipment, so, for a moment, Sun Lang pointed at the sky outside. We don't have much time left. We have no choice but to use our last resort. Zhang Yinluo frowned. Last resort? You want to capture his wife and child? Hey, I don't know why you want to get involved in this matter again, but this will make things difficult for you and President. Sun Lang was silent for a moment, then shook his head and said, before he did that, he must have considered whether our relationship would become very strained. In the end, we only did what we thought was right because of our own determination. That's all. The ranger sighed and smiled. Forget it. Let's do what we should do. Let's talk about my plan first. The problem now is that Hu Shouxin is hiding in a secret base in Mingzhou City and interrogating that demon. He's determined to hide, so I can't find him. All right, there's actually a way, but I don't want to use it. If I use it, it'll be meaningless. Sun Lang shook his finger. However, everyone has their weaknesses. Hu Shouxin's greatest weakness is that he has a wife and child. As the leader of the Ranger Guild in Mingzhou City and a hero of the Heaven's Origin sector, he has done a good job in security. However, just like all the husbands and fathers in the world, even if their wives and children are as safe as Mount Tai, they will still worry about them. Sun Lang smiled. Especially now, when he's taking the risk of offending a demon to capture the horned tiger. He must be more worried about his family's safety. Today, Priest White Snow and I purposely went there and observed for a while. The security measures that Hu Shouxin has set up for his family are about 3 layers. Firstly, the location is hidden from outsiders. Secondly, he has arranged for his trusted subordinates to protect them in secret. Thirdly, and most importantly, he said slowly, the rangers who are responsible for secret protection must have brought rapid warning devices, such as the cloud-piercing arrow. Old, who is in charge of the Imperial Army, and he has the power of thunder granted to him by the Thunderbolt Bow. He can run as fast as lightning when he's angry, and he's even fiercer than the Flash when he rushes. As long as he discovers that something is wrong, he will certainly return home as quickly as possible and shoot all the enemies into a honeycomb. Zhang Yinluo's eyes lit up. So, you want to pretend to attack there and let the rangers who are responsible for secret protection send out a warning signal to lure Hu Huaishou out. Then, we can take the opportunity to observe where he was before. Before Hu Huaishou can react, we can take down his nest and capture the demon. Sun Lang snapped his fingers. You're half right. Since Old, who can rush here as quickly as possible, He can also rush back as quickly as possible. So, someone must stall him. I'll be responsible for stalling old Who, and it may take some time. Priest White Snow, I'll point out the location for you, and you'll be responsible for going straight to the Central Palace to save Horntiger. Do you understand? Taoist White Snow thought for a moment and nodded confidently. Leave it to me. Then, it's the most important thing. Sun Lang sighed. This time, we had no choice but to involve Old Who's family. Although we won't have any contact with them, Old Who's wife is pregnant. We can't let her be frightened. Otherwise, if something bad happens and she is frightened, it will be very bad. Priest White Snow, do you have any talismans that can block the sound? Priest White Snow nodded repeatedly. Yes, that's good. When the time comes, we'll put up a few soundproofing sheets. Next, Dongfang Xin, Zhuing, your task is to visit Stick Who's house first and accompany Old Who's wife and children. Don't let anything happen to them. Sun Lang looked at Dongfang Xin and smiled. The reason for visiting. You're Chao Patao's sister. Chao Patao and Old Who are good comrades. Even if you haven't seen Old Who, you've heard about him from Chao Patao. These things are enough to win the trust of Old Who's wife. In short, you can do whatever you want. If you do this well, I'll not only help you deal with Zhuing, but I'll also stand on your side and help you deal with Chao Patao. What do you think? Dongfang Xin was a little unhappy when she heard that there would be no fight. After all, she really wanted to test her super weapon. But when she heard Sun Lang's promise, her eyes lit up. Really? Sun Lang snorted. From the time I met you until now, when have I ever lied to you? Well, if there's no problem, let's get ready. When night falls, we'll work. Everyone responded with a roar. With excitement and nervousness, they began to engage in intense pre-battle preparations. As if, Zhang Yinluo slammed the table hard and shouted, What about me? What should I do? Sun Lang glanced at the girl and gave her a thumbs up. You're responsible for cheering, cooking, watching us leave, and then showing a gentle smile. There are limited battle slots. You can be the hostess. Zhang Yinluo rolled his eyes and took a deep breath. I don't care about the matter between you and Hu Huaishou, but White Snow Taoist is going to deal with that demon alone. Is it okay? You mean you can help? Sun Lang had a look of admiration on his face. He turned around and said, Taoist priest, Heroine Zhang has volunteered to help you fight the demons. She's very brave and very powerful. She even has an emperor weapon. Most importantly, she's not afraid of demons at all. What do you think of having such a powerful person as your helper? Zhang Yinluo's expression immediately changed. He stammered, Wait. I didn't say I was going to fight the demon. How about this? I'll protect Hu Huaishou's wife. How about it? Didn't you say that Dongfang Xin have a lot of life-saving things, and Zhuing can instantly dissipate his doppelganger and return to his original body? Let the two of them support Taoist by Shui. When Dongfang Xin heard that there was going to be a fight, her expression changed. She jumped up and raised her hand. I agree. Let me go and subdue the demon. I want to use my big spear to pierce it. No. Sun Lang shook his head and said, You see, there's another reason why I sent Dongfang Xin. What if Hu Huaishou is fooled by me and is angry because he can't beat me? After he runs home, he sees you and wants to beat you up? If it's Dongfang Xin, it will be easy. After all, she is the sister of Hu Huaishou's former comrade. No matter what, he will be embarrassed to beat her. Why would Hu Huaishou beat me? Zhang Yinluo said subconsciously. Didn't you also not intend to hurt Mrs. Hu from the beginning to the end? You even tried your best to protect her from being frightened, right? After she said this, she realized that she had made a wrong comparison. Didn't she make an analogy between her own identity and Mrs. Hu's identity? The girl's face suddenly turned red. She waved her hands and said, I didn't mean anything else. We are partners. Partners, do you understand? We are very close friends. So, for your sake, Hu Huaishou will definitely not make things difficult for me. Isn't this matter very important? Every bit of strength has to be used, so Dongfang Xin and Zhu Ying should go and help us subdue the demon. Sun Lang held back his laughter and pretended to be sad. So it's just partners. But your logic is very reasonable. If there is a relationship, Hu Huisho will indeed have some scruples. Well, let me think, then I will ask Miss Zhao for help. Zhang Yinluo didn't even think about it and roared, "You're not allowed to go." Okay, I won't tease you anymore. Sun Lang saw that it was about time. He waved his hand and said with a smile, "Then I will do as you say. At worst, I will beat Hu Huisho harder and make him sober. But is Taoist by Shui okay? If you take these two girls with you?" Taoist by Shui smiled proudly and showed an expression of having a well-thought-out plan. "Hero-san, don't worry. I tell you, this is a sure bet." He snorted and laughed. "I've already analyzed it. Hu Huisho wanted to get the secret from the horned tiger, but before he could do so, he suddenly realized that there was a fire in his backyard. When I sent out a warning, he would definitely be anxious and think that it was this monster who was causing trouble. Therefore, he would definitely leave behind something similar to a restrictive cage to trap the horned tiger, making it unable to break free in a short period of time. After restricting the horned tiger's strength and mobility, he would then rush towards his home. Therefore, what I'm facing is not a horned tiger in its peak condition, but a trapped horned tiger. So, there's no problem at all. I can directly ride on the horned tiger's face. Tell me about it. How can I lose this time?" Chapter 142. It was a moonless and windy night. It was the 3rd hour of the night. Well, it wasn't that late. It was just a rhyme. It was around 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening. The group had dinner and were ready. They left the immortal fishing house and split into 2 groups, moving toward the house of Big Stick Hu. After arriving at the meeting point, as the first part of the plan, Zhang Yinluo had to pay a visit to Hu Shoshin's house and guard Mrs. Hu and her child so that they wouldn't be frightened. As the night wind blew, Zhang Yinluo's mind cleared up a little. She couldn't help but feel a little regretful. If she had known this would happen, she would have let Dongfang Xian accompany her in first. Then, she could have found a reason to run out later. There was no reason for her to pay a visit like this. Although she could use her family's name, even if she was the eldest daughter of the Zhang family in Mingzhou, there was no reason for her to pay a visit rashly. We weren't familiar with each other. She hesitated and couldn't help but slow down her pace. She was wondering if she should turn around and run back to Sun Lang and the others to discuss it. However, if she did that, she would be laughed at by them. Secondly, she might have already been targeted by Hu Shoshin's secret sentries. If she did anything unusual, she would be easily exposed. She hesitated for a moment, and the opportunity was fleeting. A cold voice came from the shadows. "Miss, are you passing by? Or do you have something to say?" Oh no, she was discovered. The girl complained loudly in her heart. However, since things had already come to this, she simply made up her mind. "I'm Zhang Yinluo. A few days ago, I received help and care from guild leader Hu. Today," before she could introduce herself, she heard someone in the shadows say, "Eh." Then the grass parted, and a paladin in black jumped out. He glanced at Zhang Yinluo and said, "So it's really Miss Zhang? We're on the same side. We're on the same side. We often heard about you from guild leader. But guild leader isn't at home today. I'll go and report to Mrs. Hu. She definitely wants to see you." On the same side? Guild leader who mentioned me? Mrs. Hu wants to see me? Zhang Yinluo blinked, her face full of question marks. She watched as the ranger gently knocked on the door and whispered a few words. A moment later, the door opened and laughter came from inside. "Which one of you is little brother? Oh no, which one of you is Miss Zhang? Please come in, please come in." She felt like she had almost said something incredible just now. The paladin who came to report smiled and gestured for her to enter. Zhang Yinluo took a few steps forward. Under the light of the lanterns in the garden, she saw a pregnant woman with a big belly walking out with the help of a maidservant. She wasn't considered beautiful, but she was very delicate. Although she had a weak figure and a big belly, she didn't give people the feeling that she was bloated. It was said that a woman was at her most beautiful when she was pregnant. Only today did Zhang Yinluo know that this wasn't an exaggeration. This was because maternal instincts and expectations for a new life were always written on this woman's face. making her extremely beautiful. She was a very delicate woman. She did not look like the bold and boorish guild leader who, but they still walked together. The couple was very harmonious and harmonious. They complemented each other and were influenced by each other. Just like Mrs. Who, she looked like a gentle and beautiful woman who took care of her husband and children, but she looked natural and graceful. Obviously, she was influenced by guild leader Who. It was so good. They could influence each other, change together, and advance hand in hand. Unlike Sun Lang, that guy, he was always like this. Instead, he infected me with many bad habits. Ah, no, that's not what I meant. That's why I said that companions can also influence each other. Only Sun Lang, this fellow, was unable to be enlightened and refused to repent. While her thoughts were running wild, she stepped forward and bowed in a ladylike manner. Madam Who? Mrs. Who smiled and looked at her from head to toe. The more she looked at her, the more satisfied she was. This gaze made Zhang Yinluo feel very uncomfortable, and she felt that she had seen it before. Back then, when elder brother had taken a fancy to Zhang Yinluo's sister-in-law, her mother found an excuse to take a look at Zhang Yinluo's appearance during a poetry recital. They even chatted for a while. Her mother's gaze at that time was very similar to hers now. Madame Who looked at Zhang Yinluo from head to toe, especially when she glanced at Zhang Yinluo's voluptuous breasts and perky buttocks. Her smile became even more sincere. She smiled and held Zhang Yinluo's hand. Don't call me Madame Who. It's too distant. If you don't mind, you can call me sister-in-law. Although this form of address seemed normal, Zhang Yinluo faintly felt that there was something wrong with it. The paladin who came to report looked at Zhang Yinluo, supporting Mrs. Who into the house. He smiled and then carefully closed the door. Seeing once was better than hearing 100 times. This Miss Zhang was really good. No wonder Hu Huaisho was full of praises for her. That guy surnamed Sun is really lucky. Look at Mrs. Who's face. She can't wait to go to the Zhang mansion tonight to be the matchmaker for Sun Lang. TSK, that guy is really lucky. I don't know who he is and what relationship he has with Hu Huaisho. How could he be so valued by Hu Huaisho? The paladin muttered in a low voice. If I have the chance to meet him in the future, I must learn from him and see what he's capable of. He flew into the bushes, intending to hide again and continue to spy on them. However, the moment he entered the bushes, the hair on the back of his head stood up. Before he could warn or struggle, a hand clasped his neck. Senrin's murderous intent was like a sharp needle pointed at the back of his head, causing him to feel infinite fear and dread. A laughing voice sounded. I think I heard someone say that I'm handsome behind my back. What the hell? Before the paladin could react, he felt a pain in his head. His vision turned black, and his head was pressed to the ground. He fainted on the spot. Sun Lang patted his head and said, Since you provided me with the information that caused me to stop moving due to blowing silk, I'll forgive your offensive language. Next time, I'll treat you to drinks and canned food. Then, he rummaged through the paladin's body for a while and found a few things that looked like cloud-piercing arrows. Sun Lang shrugged, pulled them out, and released them into the air. BIU. The paladins stationed in other positions saw the signal and were shocked. They immediately stood up, but a fierce wind blew in their faces. A figure rushed at them, grabbed their heads, and slammed them to the ground. The speed, the strength, and the ruthlessness of this person's fighting style were all ruthless to the extreme. For a moment, all the paladins in charge of keeping watch were knocked out by Sun Lang. Then, the cloud-piercing arrows shot into the sky one after another, particularly conspicuous in the night. Many people in the city saw the cloud-piercing arrows rising one after another. But before they had time to discuss what was going on, the sky suddenly changed color. A thunderclap that could tear the sky and shatter the earth rumbled loudly, as if the sky was roaring and the earth was roaring. A dazzling bolt of lightning shot into the sky from somewhere in Mingzhou City like a meteor, whistling across the vast city. Sun Lang's eyes flashed. He took a long scroll from his back. It was the most accurate map of Mingzhou City. He found the target in a moment, tore off the map, and drew a large mark with his fingernail. He threw it to Daoist by Shui, who had been waiting for him. It's here. Go. Daoist by Shui was shocked by the terrifying lightning. You'll be fine by yourself, right? Sun Lang looked at the lightning that almost lit up the city in the night, as if it was daytime. He turned his head and smiled. No problem, but it'll take some effort. After all, we're comrades. I can't kill him, can I? Then he flew toward the lightning. The cloud-piercing arrows shot into the sky one after another, and the lightning that almost woke up the whole city. Under such a terrifying and chaotic situation, Hu Shouxin's house was still very peaceful. Mrs. Hu took Zhang Yinluo's hand and asked him questions enthusiastically. She did not notice anything, because the talismans hidden in Miss Zhang's sleeves were constantly working. It gave this place a tranquility that was isolated from the world. Chapter 143. Thunder roared in the sky. Thick, dark clouds gathered and rolled in the sky like an endless river. Flashes of lightning flickered endlessly. Sun Lang stared at the sky, speechless. He didn't realize that he was the culprit at all. Oh, F***CK, why are you so angry? He lowered his head and looked at the dazzling bolt of lightning that was rushing toward him. Hu Shouxin had turned into a bolt of lightning and roared like a scorching electric dragon. He roared through the streets of Mingzhou City, stirring up gusts of wind that blew sand and pebbles into the air. He had unleashed the Imperial Army's power of lightning to break through formations. The ranger jumped off the wall and walked to the center of the street next to him. On the other end of the street, Hu Shouxin turned into a streak of light and charged toward him with the momentum of a thunderbolt. Even though the speed was so fast for a skilled martial artist, it was enough to clearly see the person in front of him. Sun Lang's smile was still indifferent, but after being slightly stunned, Hu Shouxin let out a roar. He didn't dodge or evade, and like an unstoppable bull, he suddenly charged towards Sun Lang. Cold eyebrows against 1,000 fingers. Sun Lang extended his right hand and aimed at Hu Shouxin. 7 burning rings. In an instant, the biggest traffic accident of the night had occurred in Bright State City. 2 top cultivators had collided, and one of them had even unleashed the full power of his imperial weapon. The purple lightning was instantly shattered, and the ground cracked inch by inch, collapsing layer by layer like a spider web. Billowing waves of air roared in all directions, sweeping up sand and pebbles in all directions like a rain of rain. Sun Lang stood where he was and blocked Hu Shouxin's head with his right hand. Looking at Stick Hu's ferocious face, he tilted his head and smiled. Are you in a hurry to go home for dinner? Hu Shouxin said harshly. Sun Lang suddenly let go and appeared behind Stick Hu in a flash. He said leisurely, Roar, wander, pick up flowers at dusk. 3 crane wings. The ranger reached out and pressed down on Hu Shouxin's head. His body suddenly accelerated, and he grabbed Hu Shouxin and slammed him into a big tree on the side of the road. With a loud crack, the thick tree broke. After slamming into more than a dozen trees, Sun Lang kicked Hu Shouxin with all his might. Hu Shouxin flew into the air and crashed into a thick wall, causing a loud bang. The thick wall immediately collapsed, and dust filled the air. Sun Lang steadied himself and patted the dust off his hands. Speeding at night and going on a rampage. Don't you want a license anymore? Amidst the loud noise, rubble and dirt soared into the sky. Hu Shouxin shook his head and staggered out. Roaring, Sun Lang, what are you doing? Sun Lang's expression gradually turned cold. I like to ask, what are you planning to do? Hu Shouxin's eyes flashed with a strange light as he sneered. Then tell me, what am I planning to do? You want to make big news. Sun Lang flicked the dust off his clothes. Without a doubt, it's against the basic laws. I just want to know what happened in the battle on the Grand Desolate Mountain. If you won't tell me, then I'll have to investigate on my own. Hu Shouxin was straightforward. His expression gradually turned cold as he said slowly, There are more than 1,000 people in the world who are desperately investigating the truth of the battle on the Grand Desolate Mountain. If you have the ability, why don't you fight them one by one? I don't care about other people, but not you, Sun Lang said solemnly. How many people died in the Battle of the Heavens origin sector? Do you think you're invincible? Do you think you survived because of your own ability? No, it's luck. How many people who were better than you died? How many people who were more capable than you died? You should be grateful that you survived. Go home, hug your wife, and nurse your children. What's wrong with living the rest of your life like this? You have a wife and children. Can't you think about them before you do anything? Why bother to get involved in this mess? And then watch as you go through fire and water and die without a complete corpse? Hu Shoshin said coldly, I just want to help you. We just don't want you to be the same as before. That's none of your business. Sun Lang said indifferently, I don't need anybody to meddle in my business. I didn't need anybody 8 years ago. I didn't need anybody 2 years ago. I don't need anybody now. And I certainly won't need anybody in the future, Hu Shoshin said resolutely. Everybody needs what you need. Even you crave other people's help and companionship. Otherwise, you wouldn't have kept Zhang Yinluo by your side at all. But I don't need her to go through life and death with me. I don't need her to investigate my past on her own. She will only listen and remember what I want to tell her, Sun Lang said coldly. Do you understand? Don't meddle in things that you shouldn't meddle in. That's not something you should know. Hu Shoshin, I've never needed any comrades to fight side by side. I've never had that kind of thing. I've always been like this. I've always fought like this. I've always lived like this. Don't get in my way. Really? Hu Shoshin sneered. You don't need any comrades to fight side by side? Don't joke around. Do you think I can't guess anything? Do you think I can't see anything? Part of the power of the holy sword in your body has mutated into that shameless ability. Do you think I can't guess the reason? Do you think I can't guess what's going on? Hu Shoshin gritted his teeth. This kind of shapeless, changeable, and distorted power is obviously the power of the Imperial Army of the Holy Sword of Water Elemental. He died in the Great Bear Mountain. Before he died, why would he? Before Hu Shoshin could finish speaking, the wind blew in his face. The violent and blazing murderous aura seemed to engulf him like a tsunami. Hu Shoshin was caught off guard. His sturdy body of nearly 200 pounds was once again smashed into the ruins by Sun Lang. For the first time, the ranger's eyes lost their smile. Looking at Hu Shoshin, who was trapped in the ruins, he said indifferently, You shut up. He looked at Hu Shoshin, who had stood up once again and seemed to have lost all of his patience. He issued a final ultimatum. This is your final warning. Now get the hell back home and hug your wife and child. Pretend that nothing happened today. Old Hu, you don't have any chance. Don't ask for trouble. Little bastard, your wings have hardened. You actually want to teach me a lesson. Hu Shoshin spat out a mouthful of saliva. Lightning gathered in the sky. Dark clouds churned, and a bolt of lightning flashed in his palm, slowly converging into the shape of a bow. Don't forget who taught you archery in the first place. Sun Lang took a deep breath. Then let's finish it quickly. After we finish, the other side should be almost done. A strange smile appeared on Hu Shoshin's face. Yes, the other side is almost done. At the same time, Priest by Shui and the two girls had already arrived at the location of the target. Looking at the house not far away, the 8 trigrams in Priest by Shui's hand issued a warning. There was a strong demonic aura there. It was indeed the location of the Horned Tiger. Priest by Shui made a gesture, indicating the two girls to wait. Then, a large number of talismans flew out from his sleeves and whizzed into the sky. Each talisman emitted a faint white light, as if the stars in the sky were shining. In the dim light of the night, it seemed like a dream. Priest by Shui's hands formed a seal, and his big sleeves fluttered. He originally wanted to be gentle, but at this moment, thunder and lightning were rolling in the sky. Hu Shoshin was obviously furious. He wanted to take down the Horned Tiger as quickly as possible. The array formed by the talismans emitted a magnificent light. Rays of light intertwined in the air and converged into a complicated astrolabe. Then, a powerful sealing force fell from the 9 heavens and fiercely pressed down on the house. Then, Taoist White Snow saw a shiny silver spear. Like a silver dragon, it broke through the vast and resplendent astrolabe as easily as tearing a piece of paper. Chapter 144. Daoist by Shui finally understood that he and Swordsman Sun had overlooked a fatal problem. Before Hu Shouxin left, he did not have to consider whether this was a trick by the demons or not, nor did he have to set up a cage, because besides him, there was still a peerless master guarding beside the horned tiger. This was the world's most secure cage, the world's safest insurance. Even if thousands of troops came to rescue the horned tiger, it would not be able to escape. The star formation was easily torn apart by this spear. Daoist by Shui's expression changed drastically, and more talismans flew out from his sleeves, burning with a golden light. He did not even turn his head and shouted, "You two go quickly!" However, something happened that made him dumbfounded. Seeing the peerless power of the spear tearing apart the sky, the little girl behind him did not show the slightest fear. Instead, she shouted excitedly and shook the spear in her hand. The spear sheath that covered the spearhead was torn into pieces and flew in all directions, revealing a cold light, trembling. Huh. Even if the Taoist priest was a monk with profound cultivation, after seeing this metal spearhead, he was so shocked that his magic power almost flowed backwards. What made him even more scared out of his wits was that in the face of this unprecedentedly terrifying enemy, this reckless little girl actually waved that terrifying weapon and directly rushed towards the house that was already no different from a dragon's lair or a tiger's den. She even shouted a slogan that made him scratch his head in confusion. "Break through! Spear of Death!" Daoist by Shui was so shocked that he did not care about how terrifying the enemy inside was. If anything happened to this little girl, how could he face Swordsman Sun? "Friends inside, please show mercy." As he shouted, he activated the talismans, wanting to add a few buffs to Dongfang Xian. At the same time, he gritted his teeth and rushed towards the house. At this moment, the battle between Hu Shouxin and Sun Lang was coming to an end. Sun Lang rubbed his wrist and shook off the remaining lightning. "Do you still want to fight? You've caused enough trouble tonight. If the Imperial Astronomer finds out, how are you going to explain it? It's already very troublesome to deal with the questioning of Ming Zhou's officials and martial artists." "Who caused all this?" Hu Shouxin roared. "You know what I want to know? Tell me. What happened at that time? How did you survive?" Sun Lang sighed softly. That sigh contained endless regret and helplessness. He calmly said, "That's because I made a deal with Beethoven." "Beethoven? Who was Beethoven?" Old Hu was stunned for a moment. Then he saw Sun Lang's playful expression and understood that this guy was just talking nonsense again. He roared and raised his thunderbow. His right hand held onto the string of thunderclap, and a melodious dragon roar sounded. Two thunder dragons materialized and revealed their claws that were surrounded by lightning. "If that's the case," Sun Lang waved his hand, "don't put on such a posture and prepare to use such a big move. Blizzard Cinematics have clearly stated that you will lose if you do this. Do you know? You're always like this." Hu Shouxin knocked an arrow on his bow. The arrow made of lightning flashed and flickered endlessly. He locked onto the target in front of him. The thunder dragons roared. He gritted his teeth and said, "Are you going to continue like this? Living alone, guarding all the secrets alone, shouldering all the destinies alone, facing all the enemies alone. Are you going to live like this for the rest of your life?" "Indeed," Sun Lang calmly said, "you have never given me a chance to choose. From the moment I came to this world until 2 years ago, you never gave me a chance. Never. Now I'm free. Now I can choose to do what I want to do. Now I can freely refuse you, refuse your help and unrequited love. Do you understand? You don't have to worry about my affairs. Go home and take care of your children." A trace of sadness flashed in Hu Shouxin's eyes. "So, now you still want to take revenge? Who do you want to take revenge on?" "Everyone," Sun Lang calmly said. "I won't forgive any of them." "Then tell me, who do you hate? Who do you want to take revenge on?" Hu Shouxin roared. "Tell me, what happened in the Battle of the Great Barren Mountain? Why did almost no one survive? Why were you the only one who survived? Why did the Empire block all information? What did you do in the last battle?" Sun Lang slowly revealed a mocking smile. "Ah, old Hu, what are you suspecting? What are you afraid of? Hu Shoshin's voice trembled uncontrollably. You know what I'm suspecting. You know what I'm afraid of. Sun Lang, tell me honestly. Sun Lang slowly revealed a cold and cruel smile. As expected, even you are the same. However, I can understand. Who asked me to be an outsider? I'm just someone from another world. For people like you, I'm essentially no different from the Sky Demon. It's normal for you to be wary of me. So are you. So are those who are desperately looking for me. So are those who are worried that I'm not dead. Who asked you to? He chuckled. I'm feeling guilty. This sentence ignited all the conflicts. It burned the last bit of reason and broke the last bit of restraint. The flames of anger burned fiercely. Hu Shoshin roared and released the bowstring in his hand. Two thunder and lightning dragons bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they charged towards Sun Lang. In the surging lightning, the two of them looked at each other. The 6 years of friendship, the intertwining of gratitude and hatred, could not be explained clearly. It was like fate was playing tricks on them. It was like the reincarnation of karma. The human heart was so fragile. Sun Lang sighed, and then he used his finger as a sword and pointed towards the sky. 9 strands of grand and blazing sword chi flashed through the sky, and it was like the Milky Way was hanging down from the 9 heavens, and it roared proudly and madly like a dragon. In an instant, the sound of thunder dissipated, and the lightning dragon shattered. Hu Shoshin's lightning bow slipped out of his hands, and his knees gave way as he powerlessly fell to the ground. He laughed bitterly. White wave 9 paths flowing snow mountain. You've improved quite a bit. Sun Lang gently exhaled and turned to leave. Not bad. Hu Shoshin lay motionless on the ground. He shouted behind him, Sun Lang. The ranger stopped. What's the matter? Stickhu looked at the night sky. He looked at the slowly dissipating dark clouds and the faint starlight. He whispered, Do you hate us? Sun Lang was silent for a moment. Suddenly, he turned around expressionlessly and came to Stickhu. He lifted his foot and stomped on an indescribable part of his body. Hu Shoshin rolled to the side like a salted fish. There was a loud explosion behind him. F*CK. What the F*CK are you doing? I haven't given birth enough. The ranger rolled his eyes and gestured to Hu Shoshin. Idiot. Looking at Sun Lang's figure gradually fading away, Hu Shoshin still maintained his motionless posture of looking at the sky. Suddenly, he laughed. It was like self-mockery, like a memory, like joy, like happiness. Then he wiped his face. Chapter 145. The dark clouds dispersed, and the thunder rumbled. The clamor of the lightning bolts and roars had faded away, as if it had all been an illusion. The people who had just recovered from their shock looked at each other and gathered their courage to ask their neighbors about what had just happened. Many figures moved about in the darkness, serving the various families and powers. The major event that had happened in Mingzhou City tonight was urgently needed to be investigated, for the important figures needed to know the truth. But the night had already returned to its original state, and the solitude and moonlight interweaved to reveal Mingzhou City's original appearance. Hu Shoshin walked alone in the darkness. There were no lights on the lonely streets, but he still remembered the direction home. Sun Lang had not been heavy-handed all along, but had already shattered his will to fight again. The plan that he had come up with on the spur of the moment no longer had any meaning, because he discovered that the cause of everything was not so much worry for Sun Lang, but rather a faint fear and suspicion. The battle at the great desolate mountain was a knot in the hearts of all who knew about it. That final battle, which had been praised like a legend, was filled with sorrow, filled with iron and blood, filled with sacrifice and death. Many of their comrades had died in that battle, and the only one who had survived and then disappeared was Sun Lang. He wanted to know what had happened. He wanted to know the details because there was a faint fear in his heart, and the more afraid he was, the more he wanted to know. He wanted to know what role Sun Lang had played in that bloody battlefield. But now it was already meaningless. Sun Lang had not only shattered his ability to fight again, he had also shattered his will to fight again. The current him had already lost interest in continuing to participate in this matter. Now, under the double exhaustion of both body and mind. He only wanted to return to his peaceful home and embrace the people he loved. After passing through the streets and alleys, the familiar courtyard was right in front of his eyes. The gentle light quietly shone through, making his anxious heart quickly return to calmness. He smiled bitterly and woke up the paladins who had fainted on the ground. He comforted them a few times and asked them to clean up carefully. Then he reported the news to the surrounding paladins. The paladins on duty in the guild must have also noticed the warning signal here and were most likely rushing here without stopping. Tonight was really a chaotic night. After making some arrangements, he pushed open the door, and the familiar sound of conversation came from inside. He had already changed into another set of clean and tidy clothes. He patted his cheeks and showed a simple and honest smile as he pushed open the door. In an instant, several eyes looked at him. He quickly stepped forward and supported the woman who was getting up. "Mother of my child, slow down, slow down." Zhang Yinluo also stood up. Although her expression remained calm, Hushoshin could see the anxiety in her eyes. This girl, he did not know if she was silly to the point of being cute or terrifyingly smart. Her worry was real, but the girl named Zhang Yinluo was only worried about whether the dangerous thing that Sun Lang had done today had succeeded and whether he had been hurt. She did not care why Sun Lang had intercepted and killed the monster, nor did she care about the truth that Sun Lang wanted to hide. She just trusted Sun Lang like this, pure trust, and only cared about the trust that she had now. Zhang Yinluo took a deep breath and tried to keep her tone as calm as possible. "Since Hu Huaisho is back, I will not disturb you." "Mrs. Hu Huaisho, I will leave now." Hushoshin was slightly stunned and was about to say a few words to ask her to stay. However, Mrs. Hu is knowledgeable, courteous, warm, and generous, did not try to persuade her to stay. She patted Hushoshin's big hand and said softly, "Husband, since Ms. Zhang is in a hurry, I won't ask her to stay. It's dark at night and it's not safe. She might get lost." Hushoshin looked at his wife, and Mrs. Hu looked at him with a smile. She reached out her hand and gently stroked his cheek. Then she tidied up his messy collar and said softly, "Go. Come back soon." Seeing this, Zhang Yinluo's eyes were a little wet. Maybe Mrs. Hu had already seen through everything, but she did not say anything. No matter how anxious and worried she was, when it reached her mouth, it was only a gentle exhortation. Hushoshin was silent for a moment, and then he hugged his wife gently. Then he turned around and said, "Miss Zhang, please." The two of them left the warm courtyard in silence. There were already paladins guarding the door. Hushoshin said a few words and asked his men to bring 2 horses. After the two of them got on the horses, Hushoshin gently squeezed the horse's belly, and the horse moved forward a few steps. Zhang Yinluo saw this and followed. The girl hesitated and said softly, "I am sorry." Hushoshin shook his head and said, "No, I should say thank you. Miss Zhang, thank you for staying by Sun Lang's side. Thank you for always being by his side." Zhang Yinluo was stunned for a moment, and then she blushed and stammered, This is nothing. After all, we are partners. It is normal for partners to fight side by side." Hushoshin only smiled faintly. "No matter what identity you have, please stay by his side like this. He only needs a companion, someone who can completely trust him, and someone who he can completely trust. No matter what happens in the future, please stay by his side and don't hurt him." "Hurt him?" Zhang Yinluo rolled her eyes and said, "He is hurting people's hearts and even bodies all day long. I don't know who in this world can cure him." Hushoshin shook his head and laughed, and then he squeezed the horse's belly and said, "Come with me. There may be some small trouble, especially Miss Zhang. I think you may meet your opponent." His meaningful smile made Zhang Yinluo have a bad feeling. "My opponent?" Stick, who looked nostalgic, and then he smiled strangely. Sun Lang's follower, a guy with a dog's face. Hushoshin was right. Things had indeed run into a little trouble. Yes, a little trouble. Sun Lang had not arrived yet, and the original plan of catching a turtle in a jar had already turned into catching a shark. Not only was there the mission target, the horned tiger, in the courtyard, there was also a peerless martial warrior who had popped out of nowhere. Daoist by Shui wanted to retreat in shock, but Dongfang Xian had already brandished her great spear and rushed into the courtyard where the horned tiger was. This girl was simply reckless to a certain extent. However, to abandon this weak girl and escape without a trace. Not only was his conscience uneasy, he also did not have the face to see great hero Sunday Daoist by Shui steal his heart, thinking that since he was the helper that Shoshin had called over, and he was such a strong warrior, he should at least have the bearing of a strong warrior. With that thought in mind, he shouted, "Friend, please show mercy. She's still a child." As soon as he finished speaking, the sound of weapons falling to the ground and Dongfang Xian's scream came from inside. Then, the sound of slapping came out, mixed with Dongfang Xian's shameful and indignant roar. "I'll throw you, Zhao Yunlong. Bastard, you're hitting my butt again. You disarmed me the moment you came up. What kind of hero are you? If you have the guts, put me down, stand still, and eat my spear. I bet this spear will definitely force you back." "Absolutely." Zhuing blinked and then realized what had happened. He hurriedly ran inside and shouted, "Stop! Don't bully Sister Xian. What the hell? So it was an acquaintance? But this name sounds a bit familiar, Zhao Yunlong." Zhao Yunlong. Chapter 146. The Tianyuan War lasted for dozens of years. Several generations of generals were bright. Generals had white hair. Generals had died in battle. Generals had made meritorious contributions. Whether they had fallen, returned home, or been conferred the title of Marquis, their names were all recorded in the records of heroes, ranked in the Lingxiao Pavilion, enjoying incense offerings and the admiration of the people. Their names and deeds were passed down from generation to generation, along with the history books and legends. Among the heroes of Tianyuan, there was no lack of female heroes. They also received the same respect and admiration. There was a special record of these heroes who were not inferior to men. Their achievements not only made men blush with shame, but also made women in the world admire and yearn for them, encouraging them to chase their dreams and guiding them to seek the life they really wanted. Among the female heroes who were not inferior to men, 2 of them were particularly brilliant. Their accomplishments and fame were so great that they were listed among the heroes, even though they were women. They were on par with the famous generals of the Heaven's Origin sector who were unparalleled in the world. One of them was called Huang Mulan. The other was called Zhao Yunlong. Daoist by Shui thought of the amazing spear just now. Listening to Dongfang Xian's crazy curses, he held his breath for a moment. The next moment, a strong wind whistled, and with a loud bang, an indescribably terrifying force swept down the front door and the courtyard wall of the courtyard. A silver spear stretched out of thin air and gently spun. The dust that had just been stirred up seemed to be tightly grasped by an invisible hand and quickly fell to the ground. In the courtyard, Zhuing was lying on the side with his hands covering his buttocks. Dongfang Xian was casually thrown to the ground and fell on his butt. At this moment, he was beating the ground and cursing. In the courtyard, a person was standing with a spear in her hand. Her clothes were as white as snow, and her face was like jade. When he saw her just now, Daoist by Shui subconsciously wanted to look at the sky to see if the moon was still there. Her figure was as hazy as the moon, and the invincible battle formation that had swept away thousands of troops on the battlefield had left an unparalleled heroic spirit between her eyebrows, and the silver spear in her hand had already confirmed her identity. General Zhao did not easily use the imperial army, and this spear was her most commonly used weapon, unparalleled at the ends of the earth. Daoist white snow murmured, "Spear of the horizon." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Yunlong's right hand moved, and the silver spear spun around, splashing out a little bit of starlight. Then the cold light condensed into a point and suddenly pierced through the air. Before the tip of the spear arrived, a terrifying cyclone was already roaring. Daoist Master by Shui was shocked. He immediately put away the talismans and constructed the 3 flowers at one's prominence array to erect layers of defense. The spear light collided with the talisman. The airwaves surged and the halos shook. The 3 flowers at one's prominence were easily broken. The absolute gap in strength made Taoist White Snow lose all hope. He closed his eyes and waited for death. At this moment, the murderous aura suddenly disappeared. The Taoist priest is quite capable. Zhao Yunlong withdrew his edged spear and nodded in approval. However, the techniques you have learned are for the purpose of catching demons, not for fighting against martial artists. Therefore, in front of me, you have no chance at all. Once you understand this, you can leave. This horned tiger is ours. You don't have to care about it anymore. The spear just now was just a warning. Her words were not domineering or arrogant. Her tone was calm, and her eyes were gentle, but there was unquestionable firmness. However, Taoist Master Bai Shui smiled bitterly. I was entrusted by someone, and I can only do what is asked of me. General Zhao, can you make an exception? I'll look at your face, and I'm sure you'll meet someone you've always wanted to meet. For the sake of this happy occasion. Before he finished speaking, he noticed that General Zhao was looking behind him in a daze. Then, his originally calm and reserved eyes, like an ancient well, were filled with ripples in an instant. That edged spear, which had once caused countless extraterrestrial demons to nurse a grudge, was casually inserted into the ground. Then, a smile that almost stunned a monk like him blossomed on the face of this world-famous General White Horse. Then, she rushed out with a smile like a lively little girl. He could even see her casually tied ponytail constantly swaying as she ran. In the blink of an eye, General Zhao had already passed him and rushed behind him. Taoist Master Bai Shui turned around and opened his mouth wide. Dongfang Xian held his butt and poked his head out to take a look. His eyes widened. What the hell? In Taoist Master Bai Shui's eyes, this world-famous, invincible silver-spear general, Zhao Yunlong. In Dongfang Xian's eyes, this old-fashioned, boring, arrogant, and unfeminine sister was like a taciturn gourd and could fight 100 times more fiercely than a man. At this moment, she was tightly hugging a ranger with a face full of "Damn, did you drink enough water tonight?" She used all her strength to lift him up like a cute little girl who finally got her favorite toy. She hugged him and spun him around. Sun Lang's face was messy in the wind as he was hugged by Zhao Yunlong and spun around many times. Then, he reached out and patted General Zhao's head. "Hey, put me down. I finally found you. I knew you would be fine." Perhaps such words were the best words that this calm, reserved, and gentle girl could say to express her inner feelings. Oh, maybe not. At least for now. She put Sun Lang down with a face full of joy. Then, a little flush appeared on her face, and her legs twisted unnaturally. Then, she looked at Sun Lang with a little surprise and relief. She smiled gently. "Also, it seems like you have become a very amazing adult." Taoist Master Bai Shui bit his finger and looked at Hiro-san with a face full of horror. He raised his right hand and used his palm as a knife to cut General Zhao's head twice. Then, he looked at General Zhao with even more horror. After being hit, General Zhao covered his head with his hand and showed a simple and honest smile. "Immeasurable heavenly venerate, great supreme ancestor, where did Hiro-san come from?" He looked at Sun Lang and General Zhao walking over. Hiro-san's tone was very casual. "Stick who was looking for trouble, and I have already beaten him up. Now, he's going home to nurse his child. You don't have to worry about this. Leave Horned Tiger to me." Zhao Yunlong nodded without hesitation. "Got it. I received a letter from him and rushed over. I will go to your place to rest for a while. I still have a lot of things to ask you." That's it. Before Taoist Master Bai Shui could recover from the shock, Dongfang Xian had already jumped out and blocked the two people. Pointing at Sun Lang, he shouted at Zhao Yunlong. "What's going on? Woman, no wonder you are not in a hurry to get married. What did you get married to Sun Lang?" A cold light flashed in Zhao Yunlong's eyes. He smiled and glanced at Sun Lang. My sister was originally called Zhao Xin, but she wanted to take my mother's surname, so she changed her name to Dongfang Xin. She is naughty and mischievous. I'll beat her a few more times when I go back. Your education method is very problematic, but we'll talk about it later. Now, let's deal with Horned Tiger first. Sun Lang approached the yard and comforted Zhu Ying, who had been spanked and felt aggrieved. Then he kicked the door open. Horned Tiger was sitting on the chair in the middle and looked up subconsciously. The paladin smiled. "Do you recognize me?" Xie blinked his eyes. The sky was filled with blood mist. There were heart-wrenching screams. Countless corpses. It was like a scene of Azura's killing field and a sea of blood purgatory. The devil-like figure. The dark clouds of death and slaughter were stirred up. People who should not be here. People who should have died long ago. In that memory, people who would never be forgotten. In this way, they appeared in front of him. Chapter 147. Rage. His eyes became blood red. His hair became thick, and his body swelled up. When his emotions were at their most intense and furious, demons would uncontrollably remove their human form and transform into their ferocious beast form. Xie leapt up, his eyes flashing with a blazing red light. He let out an earth-shattering roar and charged towards Sun Lang. "It's you! It's you!" Sun Lang faced the barbaric charge of the demon beast and shook his head. "Sure enough, I made the right decision to come here." He stretched out his hand and stepped to the side with his right foot, forcefully stopping the Horned Tiger's roaring momentum. The surrounding ground cracked, and the stone slabs collapsed. Sun Lang transferred the impact of the Horned Tiger's fury to the ground. Then, the ranger stretched out his left hand and gave Xie a mother of asterisk king slap. Xie's half-beast body was sent spiraling into the air, crashing into the wall on the left. There was a burst of collapse and rumbling. The angry roar sounded again from the ruins. The Horned Tiger bounced off the rubble on its body and flipped over. Its eyes flashed red, and it let out a roar that sounded like a curse at Sun Lang. The ranger patted the dust off his hand and said indifferently, "That slap just now, seeing that your family died 2 years ago, I'll spare your life. Don't be ungrateful." Xie let out a shrill laugh. "What, a person like you also feels guilty? You also feel uneasy? What nonsense are you talking about?" Sun Lang revealed a mocking smile. "I feel guilty? I feel uneasy? Not even a little bit, or rather..." His gaze became cold. "I will never forgive them." The ceiling couldn't withstand the Horned Tiger's murderous aura and power. It made a few loud sounds, and the house suddenly collapsed. Sun Lang had already flashed out of the house before it collapsed, walking towards the courtyard. However, a terrifying pressure came from behind him. The Horned Tiger stood between the broken walls and made a pouncing posture like a wild beast. It aimed at Sun Lang's back and let out a furious roar. Zhao Yunlong's eyes flashed coldly. The edged spear in his right hand made a buzzing sound, and the tip of the spear emitted a cold light. There was no doubt that as long as the world-famous General White Horse raised his spear, Xie would be split into a bloody mist, and this demon would be dead. Taoist White Snow saw this and became anxious. He really wanted to save Xie's life, but he didn't know how to persuade him. Sun Lang waved his hand at General Zhao. "You don't need to interfere in this matter. Stay aside and chat with your sister." This General Zhao, who could suppress the martial arts world of Song Province with a single spear, and who specialized in dealing with all kinds of disobedience, actually stuck his spear to the side without saying anything. He picked up Dongfang Xin like a chicken and walked over. "Come, let's chat. Chat your ass." Dongfang Xin was like an adolescent brat whose rebellious level was off the charts. Other than being dumbstruck, he also had a feeling of betrayal that said, "I didn't expect you to be such a Zhao Yunlong. You're actually so obedient? I couldn't tell. Do you have a dog's face? In front of others, you're so fierce, but in front of Sun Lang, you're wagging your tail?" Taoist White Snow automatically filtered out the things that he shouldn't have heard, but he knew that the key to this matter was Sun Lang. He hurriedly said, "Hero son, please have mercy." "Don't worry." Sun Lang waved his hand. His expression was still relaxed. The way to catch a monster is to first beat it to a critical level before you can use your skills. Wait a moment. I'm quite angry tonight. Just now, I fought with old who, in his heart, was deeply hurt. Tonight's battle was all because of this guy. If I don't teach him a lesson, how can I feel at ease? He waved his hand behind him. Come, daddy. Let's go to a place where there's no one and fight to our heart's content. You want to lead me away? Horned Tiger laughed wildly. He suddenly looked at Zhao Yunlong and hurriedly said, General Zhao, don't you want to know what General Who wants to know? The truth of the battle in the great desolate mountain. Sun Lang rolled his eyes and made a hand gesture to Zhao Yunlong. Don't listen. General Zhao immediately turned around. He stretched out his index fingers and covered his ears. He shouted, I won't listen, I won't listen, I won't listen, I won't listen, I won't listen. I can't hear anything. Dongfang Xian's eyes widened. She really couldn't imagine that her sister would have such a malicious act. A mouthful of blood was stuck in her throat. She couldn't spit it out or swallow it. You. So disgusting. As for Taoist White Snow and Xie, they were also shocked by this sudden change. Sun Lang had already taken the opportunity to dash over, grabbing Xie's collar. Amidst the other party's roar, he executed a crescent heaven rush and kicked the Horned Tigers, but kicking it far away into the darkness. Sun Lang himself also flew over to follow. Taoist White Snow also did not hesitate to follow. The three people accompanied by the Horned Tigers' roar disappeared into the darkness. Zhao Yunlong put down his finger and reached out to grab Dongfang Xian's collar. Come, let's continue to chat. Chat about your second uncle. In this uninhabited wasteland, the Horned Tiger fell to the ground, sending rocks and sand flying everywhere, creating a huge crater. Sun Lang's figure flashed out from the darkness. Personally, I think that all revenge is justified and necessary for the parties involved, but you also have to consider the course of history, right? Even I don't know what kind of result my revenge will have in the end. What are you struggling for? At least you have a sister. I don't even know what reason I have to stop. Xie roared. You want to persuade me to give up on revenge? Why don't you just kill me? You really are feeling guilty. I don't feel guilty at all. Your mother died because your mother deserved to die. Your father, your uncle, the same goes for you. Sun Lang smiled gently. The reason why I spared your dog life is because your sins do not belong to your descendants, and also because I am more interested in protecting endangered animals. Child, I don't want to lower myself to your level, but since you are still so entangled, then it doesn't matter if you have one more or one less. His eyes gradually turned cold. I'm in a good mood tonight, so I'll chat with you a bit more. You should obediently go over there and let the Taoist brainwash you, do a frontal lobotomy or something, and be a good demon. But I only want to know an answer. Xie's eyes burned with red flames, and his voice was distorted. He said sternly, Answer me. What did they do wrong? Why did you kill them? Because they are idiots, just like you. As a savage demon that drinks blood and has a cruel nature, you want to take revenge, but you talk too much nonsense. Do you want to find a righteous reason for your revenge? Lowly demons are so pretentious. I can't help but think of your family bucket. Sun Lang's eyes were cold, but he smiled. Your family is the same. They obviously want to kill me, but before they do, they talk nonstop, talking about the reasons to kill me, listing the inevitability, legality, and righteousness of killing me, trying to convince themselves that their actions are right. You're all the same. As the legendary magical beasts that can distinguish right from wrong and punish evil, you have lost your nature. You clearly know that you are doing something wrong, but you desperately deceive yourself, saying some great principles that you have heard from humans, but you don't know that you're being used by humans. How should I say this? As a demon, you are worthy to talk to me about human principles. How funny. He knocked his head, and a sharp and cold light shone in his eyes. He said indifferently, and my principles have never changed. Those who want to kill me will die, he said softly. No mercy, no forgiveness. Chapter 148. An Overwhelming Difference. Sun Lang took a big step forward, and the Horned Tiger staggered back. His aura was drawn, and his murderous aura was born. The invisible but substantial force forced the demon to stagger back. Even though he had tempered himself with the flames of hatred for the past 2 years, and even though the bloodline of the ancient beasts had given him a huge amount of demonic power, it was still meaningless in front of such an opponent. Siege was well aware of this. The vision that came from the connection of the bloodline had been repeatedly recalled by him in the past 2 years. He could feel the fear, despair, and powerlessness of his parents just by watching from the side of that memory. The enemy in front of him was so strong that he did not belong to the human world. Even if he was 100 times stronger, he would not have any chance. However, it was not revenge to kill the enemy with one's own hands. How strange. Are you a hot-blooded male lead? Even if you're beaten down 1,000 times, you will still continue to stand up and take a beating until your seed explodes? Sun Lang casually dispelled Siege's attack and said, "Is there some kind of conspiracy?" Siege's heart trembled, and his movements slowed down a little. Sun Lang nodded with satisfaction. There is indeed some conspiracy. Fear flashed in the horned tiger's eyes. Without saying a word, it suddenly turned around and ran. At this moment, it had completely transformed into its beast form. Its body was like a bull, but its shape was like a chelan. Its body was covered in long black fur, and it had a ferocious horn. Its 4 hooves roared as it stepped on the ground. How could Sun Lang let it run away like this? He flashed behind the horned tiger and grabbed its tail. "Freeze, don't bathe. All right, don't poop, understand?" The horned tiger's tail was grabbed, and its 4 feet stomped hard on the ground, creating holes in the ground. Sun Lang behind, it was still motionless, as if he was dragging a mountain. Siege roared, and his whole body shone brilliantly. In an instant, he transformed into his human form, and his tail disappeared without a trace. Sun Lang's hand was empty, and a strong recoil surged towards him. However, the ranger's figure only shook slightly, and he did not even take half a step back. Monster! Siege's heart was filled with fear, but transforming into human form to fight against a top human race cultivator was the most courting death, so before he could run away, Sun Lang had already rushed up and grabbed his head, pushing him down to the ground and burying his head deep into the soil. Then, Sun Lang stood up and grabbed the right leg of the horned tiger. Like pulling out a carrot from the ground, he pulled out the horned tiger's head from the ground with a plop. Then he swung it around and smashed the horned tiger's head in all directions, creating large and small holes in the ground. Amidst the tiger's furious and despairing roars, Sun Lang smashed it heavily onto the ground. Taoist white snow hurried over. Seeing Siege lying on the ground but still breathing, he heaved a sigh of relief. He shouted, "Hero son." Sun Lang waved his hand at him and then stretched out his leg to kick Siege, who was in severe pain and powerless for being smashed all over. I think that all revenge is justified for the parties involved, but not all revenge is sweet and successful. I killed your entire family. No matter what the reason was, it was only right and proper for you to take revenge. And it was only right and proper for me to kill you who wanted to take revenge. The so-called revenge is just that simple. Although Siege could not exert any strength in his body, the flames of revenge in his eyes were still blazing. He gritted his teeth and said, "Then kill me now." "I won't. I have the power to kill you. So naturally, I have a reason not to kill you." Sun Lang smiled. "I'm just too lazy to kill anymore. Whether you believe it or not, when I heard that a horned tiger was taken by Big Stick Who, I wanted to run over and save you. After all, there are only 2 horned tigers in the world, and the sin should not be blamed on the descendants. If I could save you, I would save you. It's a very nonsensical reason, right? Maybe I was soft-hearted for a moment, or maybe I was bewitched by a sugar-coated bullet with big breasts. But now, it seems that the decision to continue investigating because of a moment of kindness was undoubtedly the right choice. That's it. Although I won't kill you, you can forget about those memories of yours." Sun Lang waved his hand. "Taoist priest, come and brainwash him. Make it as clean as possible at the level of a baby. Make him forget everything and then start his demon life anew. I repeat, make it as clean as possible and leave nothing behind. He took a few steps back and smiled at Taoist White Snow. If I find out that he hasn't been brainwashed properly, he and his sister don't need to live anymore. I won't leave any loose ends, not even a single loose end. Taoist priest White Snow was slightly stunned, and Siegi had already roared, "You can't do this. Kill me now. Kill me right now. Don't be nervous. It'll be fine if you forget. Some memories can only bring pain and paranoia. I want to forget, but I can't," Sun Lang said softly. "At least you still have a sister who seems to be very well behaved. Even if you lose all your memories, you can start a new life. You have relatives who care about you, and everything can start new. Taoist priest, you can do it now." Taoist priest White Snow's eyes flashed with pity, but he also knew the severity of the situation. He understood that Hero-san had already made the biggest concession. So he came to the side of the horned tiger, squatted down, and said softly, "Do you have anything else to say?" "Don't do this, don't." Siegi struggled to move his body, but he couldn't move at all. His eyes were filled with blood, and there was a hint of pleading in them. "I can't forget. This is the last thing my parents left me. I can't take revenge, but do I have to forget their voices and smiles? And my sister, my family, the pain I suffered all these years, the sacrifices I made? Do I have to make all these disappear? Things in the world are difficult to achieve. This is the only way." Taoist priest White Snow sighed. "Fate makes fools of people. This is very cruel to you, but for Xie Wei, for you, I'm willing to do this evil thing. I'll bear the karma, wash away your memories, and kill you now to end this resentment. Horned Tiger, do you have any last words?" Siegi slowly closed his eyes, and tears fell from the corners of his eyes. Help me tell my sister." Taoist priest White Snow sighed softly and leaned closer to listen to Horned Tiger's last words. Sun Lang shook his head, snorted, and walked a few steps away. Then, the rangers suddenly turned back. Taoist priest White Snow let out a cry of pain. A hot and violent blood-red beam of light shot out from the horn on Horned Tiger's forehead, penetrating Taoist priest White Snow's abdomen and shooting toward Sun Lang. The ranger casually chopped, and the blood-red tyrannical power was shattered. But this moment was enough for Horned Tiger to stand up and grab Taoist priest White Snow's throat. It showed a ferocious and crazy smile at Sun Lang. "You're seriously ill." Sun Lang sighed. "I didn't expect that the legendary, loyal, and trustworthy ancient magical beast that punishes evil would fall to this point. The last bloodline was blinded by hatred, and you became a crazy and ungrateful demon. Not only Taoist priest White Snow, but even I didn't expect you to do such a thing. If your parents saw you like this, they might come back to life in anger. Isn't all this your fault?" The Horned Tiger roared. "You're the one who killed my parents. You're the one who turned me into this." "You're right." Sun Lang nodded and spread out his hands. "So what?" He walked toward Horned Tiger. "Don't come over," Horned Tiger said sternly, "or I'll kill him. You're sick in the head." Sun Lang said calmly, "Many people have died in front of me. Do you think I care about this? He died because of you, but he didn't have any relationship with me." Sun Lang said calmly, "But you still have a sister, don't you? You'll die very, very miserably. Your sister will see how useless you are before you die. If she's like you, foolishly looking for me for revenge, then I'll let her die more miserably than you. If she doesn't come looking for me, then I'll go looking for her if I'm in a good mood." Siegi's eyes flashed fiercely, and he roared, "Shut up." At this moment, Sword Chi flashed. Chapter 149. In the instant the Horned Tiger was distracted, Sun Lang was like a flickering shadow, rushing towards Siegi. However, as if he had expected Sun Lang to do so, as if he had been waiting for Sun Lang to do so, Siegi's eyes revealed a cold and sinister smile. He lifted Priest by Shui and used him as a shield. Then, he slammed toward Sun Lang. His horn, which had already turned crimson, was gathering a strange light. Revenge was at this moment. The three figures intersected for a moment, then separated. With one hand, Sun Lang firmly supported the seriously injured white snow Taoist, and then threw the thing he was holding in his other hand to the side. It was an arm. After it fell to the ground, scales and hair gradually appeared. It became dark and thick, like the front hoof of a beast. It was Xieji's arm. At the moment of collision, Horned Tiger's arm was held by Sun Lang. Sun Lang mercilessly tore open his flesh, broke his bones and tendons, and broke his entire arm, saving Priest Bai Shui from his hands. After Xieji rushed out a few dozen feet, he staggered and knelt on the ground, letting out a painful scream. Strange colored blood spurted out from the huge wound, and it was a shocking sight. He knelt on the ground powerlessly, but he let out a hysterical laugh. It was not the laughter of despair or failure, but the laughter of complacency after his plan had succeeded, the laughter of satisfaction after his evil scheme had succeeded. Sun Lang ignored Xieji. After carefully placing Priest Bai Shui on the ground, he checked his injuries. He frowned and reached out to seal a few acupuncture points. Then, he reached out to pat Priest Bai Shui's face. "Hey, Ox Nose, get up and heal yourself. Damn it. Aren't you good at reading faces? Why did you fall into the hands of a demon this time?" Taoist White Snow coughed a few times, trembling as he took out a few talismans and randomly stuck them on his body. A mysterious power instantly swept through his entire body, slowly suppressing his injuries. He forced a smile and said in a low voice, "Damn it. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. This is the second time I've been tricked by the same horned tiger. Last time I tricked him into drinking talisman water. I didn't think that this horned tiger with thick eyebrows and big eyes would also deceive people. This time I've been hit by him. It's really my fate." Sun Lang rolled his eyes. "All right, you're not a Saint Seiya. It's not embarrassing to be tricked by the same trick twice. Have a good rest. After I deal with him, I'll send you to the doctor." Taoist Bai Shui couldn't bear it. "You? Hatred has already consumed him. Let me end it all." Sun Lang calmly said, "I killed his parents and clan. This is an ironclad fact. No matter what the reason is, it can't change this fact. Just like what he said, I killed his parents and clan, causing him to be consumed by hatred and become like this. I admit this fact. I won't make any excuses. I won't feel sorry. I won't feel guilty, because from the beginning to the end, I have a clear conscience. His parents wanted to kill me, so they should be prepared to be killed. Those who want to kill me will die. This is my principle. Although I said this, I can still do two things for him. If he is willing to let go of the past, I will spare his life. But now it seems that he is not willing, so I will do one last thing for him." Sun Lang gently removed Taoist White Snow's hand, then stood up. "Since this hatred can't be resolved and let go, then let it end in my hands. Use my sword. Let his soul obtain the final peace." He turned around, looked at the horned tiger who was still laughing wildly, and said indifferently, "Turn around, look into my eyes. I'll send you on your way." The horned tiger still had his back facing him, allowing the blood to gush out of his wound. His laughter became more and more sly, like a naughty child who discovered Sun Lang's secret. He giggled and said, "I saw it." Sun Lang thought, looked at his hand, and then looked at the broken limb of the horned tiger that was thrown to the side. The broken limb suddenly burned, shining with a bloody light. The horned tiger's laughter stopped, but he was still out of breath from laughing. "You know, I always thought that you were dead. I thought that you had died in the great desolate mountain. After all, I saw the fragments of that time. No one could survive there. I thought that you were dead, but I still wanted revenge. I kept thinking about the plan, waiting for the situation to mature. This meeting with Hushoshin can only be said to be an accident, but I still decided to push this plan. I wanted to fabricate a flawless truth about you, about the truth of your death, about the truth of the battle in the great desolate mountain, so as to arouse the suspicions of the heroes of the Heaven's Origin sector against the Empire and their dissatisfaction with the Imperial Court, causing more chaos and more battles. Yes, since you are dead, but the Empire that you once protected is still there. They were the ones who accepted your protection. They were the ones who instigated us demons to join the war. They were the ones who sent my parents to die, so they also deserve to die. So, the target of my revenge has become the Empire. He laughed in a hoarse voice, but you are still alive. You monster, you monster, you actually managed to survive in that place. Were you really? Where did you come from, monster? His voice was twisted by the pain of being burned by the fire, and he became crazier and crazier. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No matter what kind of monster you are, since you are still alive, I will certainly seek revenge on you. But I can't beat you. I don't even know what kind of power in the world can kill you. But it doesn't matter. The so-called revenge is more than taking the enemy's life with your own hands. At the very least, my revenge doesn't have to be like this. The blazing flame became more and more intense, licking his body and burning his spirit. He let out a hysterical laugh. I see it now. I see it now. I've acted for such a long time, and I've finally obtained the perfect opportunity for myself, with my flesh and soul as the price. And with the help of this limb that you've torn apart, I've finally seen the secret hidden in the depths of your heart. I've finally understood the truth that I've always wanted to know. I've finally pieced everything together. The truth from back then is actually like this. The last piece of the puzzle is finally complete. As the sword chi swept past, Siège's head flew up into the air. However, his soul was already burning to the limit, and he was still able to control his head. He laughed maniacally and said, "Angry, angry. Yes, that's right. Just like this. That's the look in your eyes. Do you remember the past? Do you feel the anger in your heart? This is the taste of hatred. You need this more than me, because you're more pitiful than me. Ha ha ha. There's actually such a pitiful person like you in this world. Continue to fight, kill more and more people. Your enemies, your unfinished battle in the great desolate mountain." The headless body also burned fiercely, turning into streaks of blood-red light, and merged into the head of the horned tiger. His voice shook under the night sky. "This is my revenge, Sun Lang. My hatred will burn my soul, leaving behind an inextinguishable will. I will use all of my hatred and anger to announce your return to the Empire. From today onwards, you will never have a day of peace, because after tonight, the whole world will know of your return." Sun Lang's expression changed, and his eyes fluctuated violently. The memories of the past, the memories that were covered in dust, and the fire of hatred that was engraved in his heart and would never be forgotten merged into his last words. "Okay," he said coldly, "let them come." Chapter 150. The horned tiger's last bit of consciousness let out a maniacal laughter filled with endless hatred. His head slowly disintegrated in this laughter, and that blood-red horn also turned into specks of light and dissipated. All of his life and soul had turned into a blood-red halo, engraved with all of his hatred and will. Then, he turned into a streak of light and flew in the direction of the imperial capital. When this streak of light arrived at the imperial capital and delivered the secret the horned tiger sought to the person he wanted to tell, it was foreseeable that the entire empire and even the world would be burned by the endless flames of war. Perhaps an internal strife of the human race that would not be inferior to the grand war of heaven's origin would devour countless lives. And at the center of all this, the man named Sun Lang stared expressionlessly at this streak of light that soared into the sky. Hatred was also slowly devouring him. Let them all come. I have been waiting for a long time to settle the score of these 6 years, all the blood and tears. Those shameless and despicable people. They are suspicious, they are selfish, they are sanctimonious, they are cold-blooded and cruel, they are tyrants, they betray heroes. When I think of them still living in this world that I once fought so hard to protect, I feel extremely nauseous and disgusted. At this moment, thunder rumbled in the sky, and a streak of purple lightning rose from the distance. The bow was like a bolt of lightning, and the arrow of thunder and lightning pierced through the sky. In an instant, it swept across the sky and caught up with Siège's spiritual, like a meteor catching up with the moon. The brilliant lightning was originally the nemesis of all spiritual and illusory forms. When the heavenly lightning struck, all souls were scattered. All traces of Siege's existence in the human world, under the heavenly lightning, disappeared with a loud bang. Sun Lang was startled for a moment. An intense fury flashed in his eyes. He slowly turned his head and said word by word, "Who? Show. Xin." Hu Shou Xn, who had arrived at the last moment, let out a long sigh of relief and put down the thunderbow in his hand. Immediately, an unprecedented murderous aura surged in front of him, and Sun Lang walked towards him step by step. The cold wind was bone-chilling and the moon was covered in dust. Hu Shouxin had a complicated expression on his face as he looked at Sun Lang, who was walking towards him. The comrade he had known for 6 years, at this moment, seemed to have become another person, exuding endless killing intent and hatred. His instincts as a martial artist kept warning him that an unprecedented crisis was approaching. It was the footsteps of death, but he did not raise his thunderbow. He only calmly looked at Sun Lang. He said calmly, "I can't watch you be swallowed up by hatred and die without a burial place. Your life can't end like this. It's too much of a pity." Sun Lang let out a desolate and cold laugh as he continued to walk towards Hu Shouxin. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. The air violently shook, and even the darkness fled far away. On the long street, only Hu Shouxin was facing the peerless edge that seemed capable of cleaving apart the heavens and earth. However, he still maintained a calm expression as he waited for the final outcome. The hurried sound of horse hooves sounded from behind Hu Shouxin. In the darkness, a familiar figure rode over. After seeing the ranger, he subconsciously shouted, "Sun Lang." This call was like a light that pierced through the darkness, waking him up from his endless nightmare. Sun Lang's eyes quickly became clear, and the murderous aura around him dissipated. Zhang Yinluo reined in the horse's head and jumped off. He quickly walked to Sun Lang's side and instinctively grabbed the ranger's hand. Then, a look of surprise appeared on his face, because although Sun Lang's expression was terrifyingly calm, his palms were covered in cold sweat. The ranger was silent for a moment and said to Hu Shouxin, "Taoist by Shui is over there. He was ambushed by a horned tiger, and his injuries are not light. Bring him back and find the best doctor to stabilize his injuries. Then, inform Zhengyang Palace to come and pick him up." Then, he held Zhang Yinluo's hand and said softly, "Let's go." Zhang Yinluo's face showed a worried expression. She asked softly, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." Although he received such a response, Zhang Yinluo saw that Sun Lang's face showed an expression that he had never seen before. There was sadness and also disappointment. Sun Lang said softly, "Maybe I shouldn't have stayed at all." Inexplicably, Zhang Yinluo's heart ached. She held Sun Lang's hand tightly and said softly, "If that's the case, wouldn't you be unable to meet me?" Sun Lang was stunned for a moment, then slowly smiled. Thus, they no longer paid attention to Hu Shouxin. Just like that, holding hands, they walked along the street and slowly walked forward. The night was calm, and all the fighting stopped. Everything seemed to have been a lifetime ago, as if they had returned to the human world. Zhang Yinluo felt the warmth from the palm of her hand, and the cold wind blew. Only then did she realize what a bold thing she had just done and what bold words she had said. But fortunately, Sun Lang seemed to be in a very bad mood at this time, but he was also unprecedentedly obedient. He just obediently held her hand and walked quietly. He actually didn't say any vulgar words, nor did he secretly do anything to take advantage of her. It really made people a little uncomfortable. While the girl's thoughts were running wild, she heard Sun Lang say calmly, "Thank you." Zhang Yinluo blinked. If you didn't suddenly appear just now, I don't know what I would have done. I don't know if I would have done it. But even if there was only a 1 in 10,000 chance that I would have done it after this, I would definitely regret it for the rest of my life." When he said this, his right hand trembled slightly, and he smiled bitterly. "I actually had the intention to kill old Hu. Having the intention to kill and actually killing are two different things. Zhang Yinluo shook his head and said softly, "Of all virtues, filial piety is the most important. In terms of the heart, it doesn't matter about the actions. In terms of the actions, there is no filial son in a poor family. In terms of the actions, it doesn't matter about the heart. In terms of the heart, there is no saint in this world. So I believe that even if you had the intention to kill, in the end, you would still control your actions and not hurt Horatio. You really know how to comfort people." Sun Lang smiled. "I kept on laughing at that horned tiger and became like this because I was swallowed by hatred. But when it was my turn, I also lost my rationality and control. Now that I think about it, it's really ironic. If you didn't suddenly appear, perhaps it would have succeeded in its revenge. He almost succeeded in pulling me into the same situation he was in before and let me be swallowed by the flames of revenge. Inluo, thank you. Although you didn't obediently stay at Big Beard's house tonight and came to find me, but by accident, you did a great thing." Zhang Yinluo smiled. "That's not necessarily true. If I didn't come, Mrs. Hu wouldn't let Horatio accompany and protect her, and maybe the incident just now wouldn't have happened." She was referring to Sun Lang's intention to kill Old Hu. This silly girl still didn't realize the significance of Old Hu's arrow and how many people it protected. However, Sun Lang just smiled and didn't say anything more. He just smiled and asked, "Aren't you at all curious about what happened just now? Don't you want to persuade me to let go of the hatred or something? If I ask, will you answer? You'll definitely make up some nonsense to fool me." Zhang Yinluo sighed. As for the hatred, he doesn't even know what kind of hatred and pain others are bearing, and he keeps on persuading people to be tolerant and let go of the hatred. Such a person can't even be considered hypocritical. He should be struck by lightning. "I won't do that." Sun Lang was stunned, and then he smiled. He suddenly reached out and hugged Zhang Yinluo. "Wah, hey, let go of me. Why are you suddenly hugging me? Don't go overboard, it's so disgusting. Hey, say something. Suddenly hugging me without moving, it's so strange. Forget it. Considering the special situation today, I'll only do it this time." Chapter 151. Sun Lang and Zhang Yinluo had already left, but Hu Shouxin was still standing in the same place, silent, not saying a word. Zhao Yunlong slowly approached him. Her face was no longer filled with joy and naivety after reuniting with Sun Lang after a long time. Instead, it was the demeanor of a general of the Heaven's Origin sector. She looked at Hu Shouxin and shook her head. "I was already prepared to attack. Why'd you have to do that? Judging from how he was just now, he probably wanted to kill you. If he accidentally killed you, he would regret it for the rest of his life." Hu Shouxin forced a smile. "You've just reunited with him, and you're already being looked down upon? This happened because of me. It doesn't matter if I'm a bad guy again." Zhao Yunlong smiled casually. "If I was the one who did it, he would just glare at me and kick me a few times afterwards. Besides, even if he really wanted to hit me, I could have just run away and come back after he calmed down. Isn't this how it's always been? All I had to do was hide for a while and come back with my tail between my legs, pretending to be pitiful. After he glared at me a few times, he would laugh out loud first." Hu Shouxin also laughed. "That's the only move, you know, but it works every time." He slowly exhaled and shook off the cold sweat on his hands. Wiping it on his clothes, he seemed to have just come back to his senses. He sighed deeply. "Damn it, I didn't think much of it before, but it really scared me to death now. If I were to be chopped up by this kid, how am I supposed to live my life as a widow and an orphan? Especially when I don't know which wild boar will take my precious daughter in the future. I'm terrified just thinking about it." Zhao Yunlong glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. It was indeed impossible for a single woman to understand the thoughts of a married man. She casually swung her spear a few times and pointed it at the night sky of Mingzhou City. "You've caused quite a ruckus today. The Imperial astronomer probably already noticed that you used the thunderous bow. How are you going to explain it to the Imperial Court? Besides, it's not just the Imperial astronomer. Everyone in Mingzhou who hasn't slept tonight can hear your thunder and lightning. The people who will come to Zhongyi building to ask questions tomorrow will probably break the doorway. How are you going to beat around bush? What's more, now that the monster is dead, what will you do if the organization behind him refuses to let the matter rest? Hu Shouxin said shamelessly, General Zhao, why don't you take the blame for me? Zhao Yunlong rolled his eyes. Fine, fine, fine. Since that monster is already dead, we'll just push all the blame on him. As for the reason, wasn't it already there? My naughty little sister ran away from home and ran to Mingzhou City. She was discovered by you. You sent a letter to me, and I rushed there through the night. I happened to see this monster try and kill my little sister, so I killed him with a shot. No one can find fault with me. Old Hu was stunned. I'm just kidding. After all, you're still a general of the imperial court. If you're found to have left your post without permission, the higher-ups will blame you. Blame me. General Zhao snorted. Don't you know the current situation in the imperial court? The war has ended, and there's peace and prosperity. Some things that were inconvenient during wartime are now ripe. The country's treasures, the country's legacy, the position of crown prince is really coveted. At this juncture, who in the imperial court would dare to make things difficult for us? At most, we'll be reprimanded and find a bit of our salary. After saying this, she laughed to herself. If an imperial edict really strips me of my position and takes away my military power, I'll just pack up my things and run over to Sunlang. It'll be a wonderful thing. Hu Shouxin laughed as well. Then he said slowly, it's best not to do that. You're in Songzhou and have military power. It'll be better for him. Chow Patao, although Sun Lang won't tell me what happened in the battle at Dahuang Mountain, I can still guess some things from some clues. When I met him again, his eyes were filled with sincere joy, but there was also a faint sense of vigilance and alienation. Do you know what this means? Zhao Yunlong's expression slowly became serious. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. No wonder he hasn't come to find us in these 2 years. Old Hu can be trusted? Hu Shouxin shook his head. I don't know. At least for now, it's better not to let more people know. Sun Lang's attitude is unclear, and the situation in the imperial court is also unclear. In short, I'll go back and make a list of people who can be trusted. After sifting through them, I'll definitely let them know in the future. Other than those guys, there are also people who can be trusted. Sima Yi, Yubuchuan, Dongfang Wansheng, Gaoqiu Tongguan. Zhao Yunlong nodded slightly. Before he said anything, hurried footsteps and Dongfang Xian's shout came from behind. Hey, that cow knows. You're just going to let him lie there? Oh, about that. That Taoist priest's injuries aren't light, so it's not suitable for him to move around. I've already ordered my subordinates to prepare a soft bed and invite a famous doctor over. He'll be here soon. Old Hu gave Zhao Yunlong a look that said, Little girl, it's getting late. You should go back. Leave this Taoist priest to us. You don't have to worry. Who would worry about an unfamiliar cow nose? Dongfang Xian rolled his eyes at Hu Shouxin, then ran forward and grabbed Zhao Yunlong's sleeve. He had a look of disappointment on his face. What are you still standing here for? Your idiot has already been hooked away by a cow spirit. They ran away just like that. You're still chatting here? Why aren't you chasing after him? Zhao Yunlong and Hu Shouxin looked at each other and laughed out loud, then reached out and patted Dongfang Xian's head. Little girl, your mind is filled with all these messy things. What rich guy? What cow spirit? I see that girl's breasts are full, and her, but is perky. With one look, I can tell that she can give birth, and her personality is not bad. To actually be able to take Sun Lang, she could be considered a good match. Don't talk nonsense. Dongfang Xian covered his head and stomped his feet. Then what's going on with you? Wasn't Sun Lang your old lover from before? After seeing him, his tiger face turned into a dog face. He was just short of sticking out his tongue and wagging his tail. You don't have anything to do with him? I won't believe it, even if I'm beaten to death. Let me tell you, it's fine if you're a little muddle-headed, but you definitely can't be a coward now. If you really miss out on Sun Lang, then no man in this world will be willing to marry you. If no one marries, then no one marries. What's the big deal? General Zhao snorted. Don't spout nonsense. Sun Lang and I are fellow brothers, a life and death friendship, not the kind of superficial relationship between men and women. Puffed. There is no such thing as a pure friendship between men and women. Dongfang Xian stomped his feet and said, "And you don't plan on getting married? And not looking for a son-in-law? Then what about the Zhao family's incense? Don't expect me to carry on the family line." About that, Zhao Yunlong rubbed his chin in a serious manner. "Indeed, it doesn't matter if I don't marry, but the inheritance of incense is a big deal. However, I've been thinking about this for a long time." She raised a finger, nodded, and said in all seriousness, "When you want to pass down the incense, you might as well borrow a seed from Sun Lang. Lend your head my ass. This is called a life and death friendship." Dongfang Xian grabbed her sister and dragged her away. "Since you want to borrow, why don't you just get married? Go, go, go." "Wait, you damn girl." Zhao Yunlong frowned. "I feel like you're very excited." "Nonsense, you're so obedient in front of Sun Lang, like a little wife. If you marry Sun Lang in the future, and I build a good relationship with brother-in-law, then it's time for me to turn the tables." Although this was what he was thinking, Dongfang Xian still shouted, "I'm worried about your life. Hurry up and go, come with me." Chapter 152. How satisfying. Too satisfying. He had never had such an amazing experience before. Don't think too much. I'm talking about how Dongfang Xian feels right now. This was because her silly big sister, who had been acting like an elder and liked to scold her every day since she was young, was now listening to her seriously with a puzzled look on her face. "You're not young anymore. It's time to get married. No one has dared to come to our house to propose marriage in the past 2 years. I thought you wouldn't be able to get married for the rest of your life." Dongfang Xian raised her finger, taking advantage of this great opportunity to take revenge. "Although you don't know anything about zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting, you don't know anything about embroidery. Your cooking skills are terrible, and your personality is irritable. All right, that's a bit biased. After all, you can fight better than a man, let alone an embroidery needle or a kitchen knife. Even if you hold an ancient zither in your hand, you can still smash a person's brain. At that time, as long as you get rid of the judges and audience who oppose you, everyone will admit that you are good at zither, chess, calligraphy, and embroidery." Zhao Yunlong snorted and slapped him on the head. "Disrespecting your elder sister, you deserve to be beaten. Children are not allowed to slander your elders. Even if I don't know anything, I can still be a great general. Puffed. At this time, you want to put on the airs of an elder sister and a great general?" Dongfang Xian was already used to being beaten, so she covered her head and complained, "I just saw Sun Lang. Why are you acting like a little wife?" General Zhao clasped his hands behind his back and said proudly, "Sun Lang is naturally different. You little brat don't understand the matters of adults." Dongfang Xian curled her lips and looked at him with disdain. "Since he's so different, then why haven't you taken him down yet? In this world, there's only one man who can cure you, and you seem to be very happy to be cured by him." Zhao Yunlong looked at his younger sister with disdain. "Little brat, you're already at this age, yet your head is still filled with emotions and love. I've already said it before, Sun Lang and I don't have such a superficial relationship. Our friendship is enough to entrust our lives to each other. It's already above the so-called love. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Even if that's the case, what does it have to do with the two of you getting married? Isn't this an even closer relationship? When you wake up in the morning, you see him. You see him when you eat. You practice martial arts with him, ride horses with him, train soldiers with him. At night, you wash his feet. He massages your shoulders. You call him husband. He calls you wife." At first, Zhao Yunlong was very disdainful, but later on, his eyes slowly straightened, and a silly smile appeared on his face, as if there was saliva dripping from the corner of his mouth. Dongfang Xian even felt that behind her sisters, but there seemed to be an invisible dog tail that was standing straight up, slapping the ground with all its might. That beautiful future seemed to make her fascinated. "Are you tempted? Do you really want to do that?" Dongfang Xian struck while the iron was hot and urged, "Don't be afraid. Don't panic. It's time to take a step further. I know that people like you are crude and simple. You don't have any emotions, and you don't know how to use your brain. But it doesn't matter. Even idiots have their own ways of doing things. And then take responsibility for him. Tie him up and bring him to our house. In short, don't be afraid, just do it. When Zhao Yunlong heard this, two undetectable blushes involuntarily appeared on his handsome and fair face. F***CK. This woman actually blushed. The ancestors of the Zhao family were all above. The ancestral tablets were about to appear. Dongfang Xian roared in his heart, but his blushing meant there was a way. You woman, you actually know how to be shy. But no problem. A woman chasing a man is separated by a layer of paper. Who cares about the consequences? Dongfang Xian gave a thumbs up and encouraged loudly. In short, don't be shy. Zhao Yunlong glared at her. I'm not shy. Dongfang Xian rolled his eyes. Then why are you blushing? Zhao Yunlong touched the black hair on his head, hesitated for a moment, and then blushed. I'm afraid I can't beat him. Can't beat him? Are you kidding? Oh, I understand. It's because you're scared in front of him. You can't muster up any strength, right? I understand. Dongfang Xian sighed. Forget it. Who asked me to be your sister? Come, listen to me. When we get to the immortal fishing house, Dongfang Xian began to impart life experiences that he had never experienced in actual combat, scaring his sister to the point that he was stunned, and obtained great satisfaction from it. However, she did not notice that Zhu Ying, who had been following her silently since just now, had his ears pricked up. While listening, he nodded thoughtfully. Women were fickle. Of course, so were men. Therefore, in this world, there were legendary swords like the Traveler's Sword of Salvation, and there were also divine weapons like the Nanren Yang sword that could compete with it. Therefore, it was not strange that Sun Lang, who was well-behaved and quiet not long ago, revealed his true colors after returning to the immortal fishing house. Give me an inch, and I want a yard. Don't push your luck. Zhang Yinluo ran around the table to avoid Sun Lang, who had a perverted smile on his face. Stop. Don't come over. I'm going to cut you. I'm going to draw my sword and cut you. Sun Lang's eyes widened. After a moment of shock, he put on a heartbroken look. Yinluo, you actually played with my feelings. You even took back the CG. You even said things like, if that's the case, then you won't be able to see me anymore. So you were just playing with me? You also said that it was only today. Shut up. After hearing Sun Lang mention it, Zhang Yinluo blushed with shame and shouted, You heartless man, who did I say that for? You actually laughed at me afterwards. I don't know who was the one who was so scared that his hands were covered in cold sweat. Like a good baby, he didn't dare to move at all. I've never seen you so obedient. While the two were arguing, they ran around a wide table in the lobby of the immortal fishing house. One of them laughed lewdly, and the other shouted loudly. But in any case, the haze brought by the horned tiger had dissipated, at least on the surface. Sun Lang had returned to his usual appearance, which made Zhang Yinluo feel relieved, but he also had a headache. He really didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Suddenly, footsteps came from outside. When heroine Zhang heard it, it was like heavenly music. She pointed in the direction of the door and shouted, Dongfang Xian and Zhu Ying are back. Don't put on such a dead face. Be careful not to teach the children bad things. Sun Lang somewhat regretfully stopped in his tracks. Looking back, his face involuntarily revealed a smile. Although today's incident with the horned tiger had made him very unhappy with Hu Shouxin, to the point that they almost fell out, and he had also recalled the unpleasant things of the past, he had also gained something. For example, his relationship with Yinluo had improved. It was really something worth celebrating. Another example was reuniting with his old friend. He looked at the girl with a silver spear in white and a ponytail and smiled. Zhao Yunlong was instilled with dangerous thoughts by his sister. His brain was in a state of confusion. After coming in, he was at a loss for a while. But when he saw the smile on the ranger's face, the memory of the past emerged in his mind. His smile had never changed, just like before. No matter what had happened in the past 2 years, he was still the same as before. Then, a faint smile slowly appeared on her face. Zhang Yinluo saw the valiant girl, and the way the two looked at each other and smiled. He couldn't help but have a strange feeling in his heart. Unexpectedly, she walked in front of Sun Lang, looked at Zhao Yunlong, and said with a smile, "Welcome, welcome, shopkeeper. Who is she?" Chapter 153. Shock, shock, shock. Cold moon, cold wind, cold face. On one side was heroine Zhang, and on the other side was General Zhao with a white horse and a silver spear. Their eyes met, weaving out the roar of Azura, weaving out the end of blood. With a hatchet in hand, the void was filled with beautiful eyes. Brother Cheng's voice and face were still in his ears. This was the place where he had fought. Zhang Yinluo smiled, and slowly pulled out the sawn knife in her hand, aiming at Zhao Yunlong's lower abdomen. "It's a lie. Obviously, there won't be anything." Then, with a maniacal smile, she slowly walked towards General Zhao. As if, "General Yunlong. It's actually General Yunlong." Zhang Yinluo's scream almost overturned the roof of the fishing immortal building. She looked like a brainless fan who had seen her idol. "It's actually General Zhao Yunlong." The war had lasted for decades, and the war created heroes. The people in power were also willing to spread the legends and stories of these heroes, because this world needed heroes. Well, real heroes, not the ones of 1980 and 328. Because in the war, nothing could unite the people more than heroes. Nothing could give people more confidence and hope than heroes. And these meritorious people of the empire would also become the object of worship of more and more young people who were eager to establish their achievements and bring glory to their families. They would become the role models and benchmarks of the people with aspirations in the world. Zhao Yunlong was especially so. As a woman, she had established a great achievement and a great reputation for bravery that was not inferior to men in the slightest. Such a person, even men would admire, let alone women. Heroine Zhang, as a self-respecting, self-confident, and capable woman of the new era, naturally regarded this kind of unparalleled heroine as her life's mentor and idol. At this time, after hearing about Zhao Yunlong's identity, the original hostility and resistance consciousness instantly disappeared without a trace. She entered the state of a crazy fan and was at a loss. Where's the collector's edition of the heroine's book that I collected? Where's the first edition of Showing Spear that I specially bought? General Zhao, you must give me a few words. Dongfang Xin looked at Zhang Yinluo's useless appearance and sneered. Just a moment ago, you were still acting like a word. Did this little vixen come from woman? Look, your face changed too quickly. Don't talk nonsense. Zhang Yinluo said angrily, but her face turned red. Her expression and reaction fully explained why she had just let down her guard and let out a sigh of relief. Undoubtedly, it was because how could the majestic and invincible General Zhao, with his white horse and silver spear, take a fancy to someone like Sun Lang? In order to cover up her embarrassment and to build a good relationship with her idol, she revealed a warm smile on her face. "General Zhao, please take a seat. Have you eaten? Do you want some supper?" Zhao Yunlong seemed to be unable to resist such a passionate attack. The valiant female general said awkwardly, "Not hungry, not hungry." Of course, General Zhao's skills are profound. Even if you don't eat or drink for more than 10 days, it doesn't matter. Today is a long day. Do you want to take a hot bath first? Usually, when encountering this kind of overly enthusiastic and brainless fan, Zhao Yunlong would either ignore her or pull her spear to the side. However, Zhang Yinluo and Sun Lang seemed to have a lot of inexplicable relationships. Looking at her attitude, she might even have to be sister-in-law in the future, so she couldn't just send her away. However, she had looked to Sun Lang for help several times, but the ranger looked like he was watching a play, so General Zhao could only stammer. Then I'll have to trouble Miss Zhang. You want to take a hot bath, right? I understand. I'll boil some water for you in a while. In an instant, this cunning fan had secretly changed the way she addressed him. Then why don't you stay here for the night, General Zhao? Although it's not as good as the general's mansion, it's still elegant and clean. Little sister, Can you clean up my courtyard and let Sister Yunlong stay here? Hearing this, Zhao Yunlong waved her hand and said, You don't have to trouble yourself, Miss Zhang. A bed and a quilt are enough for a soldier. There's no need for embroidered beds and quilts. Fragrant boudoir. Before General Zhao finished his words, Zhang Yinluo clasped her hands with a touched and admiring face. Ah, General Zhao's demeanor, the bearing of a strong warrior, detached from the world, not falling into materialistic desires. Then, Zhao Yunlong said the second half of her unfinished sentence. I'll sleep with Sun Lang these days. Zhang Yinluo was still touched and nodded repeatedly. I understand, General Zhao and Sun Lang sleep together. She almost thought that she had an auditory hallucination. Her eyes widened, and her body was like a rusty robot. She turned around bit by bit and glanced at Sun Lang. This paladin, who had a vile personality and a strong sense of evil, who would not get up early if there was no benefit, who did not have the temperament of a warrior, and who did things in a mess, was now picking his nose with a calm expression. After he casually flicked away the unknown object that he had dug out, he raised his chin and said carelessly, Ah, we haven't slept together for a long time. Forget it. Remember to wash yourself clean when you take a bath. Zhang Yinluo turned her neck again and looked at Zhao Yunlong. This famous General White Horse, this Sister Yunlong who was respected by countless women in the world, showed an excited expression after Sun Lang gave her permission. She nodded vigorously and said, Well, I'll take a few more baths. This must be fake, an illusion, an act. This can't be real. TSK Tisk. Dongfang Xian commented as if she wanted to see the world in chaos. Your expression at this time is simply a classic portrayal of all living things in the world. It's like seeing your beloved ordinary husband being slept with by a princess of golden branches and jade leaves in front of you. A scene of tragedy, a scene of tragedy. Come, 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 tear, 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 tear. Don't be afraid, just do it. Zhang Yinluo seemed to have not heard it. She blinked her eyes, then shook her head vigorously, and even patted her head hard a few times. When she opened her eyes again, the girl's eyes had become sharp. The way she looked at Zhao Yunlong was no longer the worship and admiration she had before, but was serious as if she was facing a great enemy. Even she did not know why she had this kind of hostility. She said loudly, General Zhao, you can't sleep with him. That's why. Women are really fickle. Just now, it was that woman. Then it became Sister Yunlong, and finally it became General Zhao. At this time, what kind of ups and downs had Yinluo experienced in her heart? It was really unknown. Zhao Yunlong blinked his eyes. Her words were like her gun, always going straight to the key point. Miss Zhang, don't worry. Sun Lang and I are just comrades. Today we meet again after a long time, and we want to sleep together and talk about the past. We don't plan to do anything else. Don't be afraid. I won't fight with you. Zhang Yinluo blushed and stuttered. I'm not afraid of you snatching him. No, I won't snatch him from you. Ah, that's not right. Anyway, I'm not afraid of what you'll do to him, but what he'll do to you. She pointed at Sun Lang and said loudly, General Zhao, do you know that this guy has recently acquired a very shameless ability? As long as he touches a girl, he can make her become very strange and make her become very shameless. He's like a walking aphrodisiac, wet wherever he goes. This stinky girl? Sun Lang's eyes flashed, and then he secretly signaled to Zhao Yunlong with his eyes. Zhao Yunlong nodded imperceptibly. When they fought side by side against the sky demon in the outer realm, they could cooperate almost telepathically with each other just by looking at each other. Now, it was easy for him to bully a well-behaved girl with big breasts. Zhang Yinluo, who was blabbering on about Sun Lang's crimes, suddenly felt an inexplicable chill. But before she could think about it carefully, Zhao Yunlong asked with a smile, There's such a thing. But Ms. Zhang seems to have had physical contact with Sun Lang, but you didn't have any reaction. Could it be? She blinked and was a little surprised. You are a man. Chapter 154. Ever since she met a certain guy, she was often mistaken for a man. Wasn't it just that she didn't have any abnormal reaction after being touched by him? How could she be mistaken for a man? Is there something wrong with your heads? Can't you see my big breasts? Although Zhang Yinluo had already roared these words countless times in her heart, with the young girl's thick skin, she would never say it out loud. But the problem was that even if she didn't say it out loud, it didn't mean that someone couldn't tell what she was thinking. Sun Lang sighed faintly. Yinluo, I have to remind you that breasts aren't the only standard for gender evaluation. On the contrary, it can be very deceptive. Just like a girl with a flat chest, she's still a girl. You can't say that she's a man just because she has a flat chest. On the other hand, no matter how big your chest is, if you have a big penis. Zhang Yinluo's eyes suddenly became sinister, which made Sun Lang whistle a few times as if nothing had happened, and tactfully shut her mouth. How can Miss Zhang be a man? You really know how to joke. Zhao Yunlong saw the situation and tried to smooth things over. Then she said to Zhang Yinluo with a pleasant expression, he used to have such a temper. He was very rude to everyone. Compared to before, he's much better now. I know Ms. Zhang is doing this for my own good, but I have a lot of things to say to him, a lot of things to talk to him about. Zhang Yinluo stammered, then we can talk about it now, or we can talk about it through the night. We don't have to sleep together or anything like that. You know, this guy has the ability to be shameless. Zhao Yunlong's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile, but I don't care. We've been through life and death together all these years. It's nothing to put my life in his hands. What's wrong with being touched by him? Harrow and Zhang's face became redder. This is too undignified. A girl should be clean and honest. General Zhao blinked and pretended to be surprised. Oh, I understand. So, Ms. Zhang is jealous, right? Yinluo was like a kitten whose tail had been stepped on. She jumped 3 feet into the air, but before she could retort loudly with a very standard Sundara style, Sun Lang pretended to be angry and interrupted. Chow Patao, you're wrong to say that. Ms. Zhang is like the moon, noble and proud. How could she be interested in a country bumpkin like me? She doesn't have any improper thoughts about me. She only treats me as a close companion and comrade. She doesn't have any relationship with me. The reason why she stopped you from sleeping with me is to protect your personal safety. She doesn't have any other intentions. Do you understand? Zhang Yinluo was stunned for a moment. She thought that Sun Lang was so sensible today. Although she felt a little strange in her heart, she still nodded and said, That's right, that's right. Zhao Yunlong tilted his head and seemed to have thought of something. He put his palms together and smiled. In that case, there's a compromise. How about the 3 of us sleep together tonight? Zhang Yinluo almost couldn't breathe. She screamed, What? Sleep together? Why? Zhao Yunlong smiled and said, Sun Lang will sleep on the outside. Miss Zhang will sleep in the middle, and I will sleep on the inside. If you separate us, we won't have any physical contact, and we can talk through the night. You can also monitor Sun Lang, so that he won't do anything shameless. Everyone will be happy, won't they? Sun Lang raised his hand and said seriously, I agree. Agree your head. Zhang Yinluo shouted. Why do I have to sleep with this guy? Zhao Yinlong blinked his eyes. Sun Lang said that you are a noble and proud person, and that you don't have any improper thoughts about him. You only treat him as a close comrade, and that you don't have any romantic feelings for him. Since you are comrades in arms, is there a problem with sharing a bed under special circumstances? Could it be that Miss Zhang has a guilty conscience and has improper thoughts about Sun Lang? Indecent thoughts, my ass. Look over there. That guy's improper thoughts about me are almost overflowing from his eyes. Zhang Yinluo faintly felt that something was wrong. She seemed to have been tricked. Sun Lang, who was laughing obscenely, Zhao Yunlong, who was sitting on the side, holding her chin and watching the show, and Zhuing, who was confused. In an instant, she felt that the other 4 people in the hall seemed to have tacitly formed a united front and were tricking her as if nothing had happened. In short, impure and improper communication between men and women is not allowed. Zhuing, come and help me boil some water. Dongfang Xin. I left some supper in the kitchen. Heat it up and bring it up. Sun Lang, you talk to General Zhao. Don't do anything strange, or I won't talk to you anymore. After hurriedly assigning tasks, Heroine Luo dragged Zhu Ying and ran to the backyard. Dongfang Xian also stood up and left, giving his sister some space. You guys take your time to chat. Do your best. Do your best. She's not a bad girl. Zhao Yunlong smiled. She's pretty, has big breasts, and her appearance suits your taste. She's warm and kind, but a little cunning and scheming. Sometimes, she's not straightforward enough, so you can tease her. Most importantly, she doesn't seem to fall for your tricks. General Zhao stretched out her hand and gently stroked Sun Lang's shoulder. Her white jade-like face instantly turned red. She pressed on Sun Lang's shoulder like this until her right arm began to tremble slightly. Then she withdrew her hand and sighed. So powerful. I took the initiative to touch you, and just the shoulder can be affected. Before the Battle of the Great Bear Mountain, you didn't have this ability. How did you? Sun Lang's eyes flashed with a trace of sadness. This is a bit complicated. Don't ask. I don't want to talk about it. Zhao Yunlong nodded. Okay, then I won't ask. But what are your plans for the future? All these years, many people don't believe that you're dead. We've been investigating your whereabouts and the truth of what happened back then. So have others. Not only me, but many people are waiting for you to come back. Many people still remember your kindness. Many people believe that you'll definitely come back. The ranger chuckled. This may not be a good thing. You also want to know what happened in the Battle of the Great Barren Mountain? Of course I do. Once, I want to know more than anyone else because I wanted to know your whereabouts. I wanted to know where you went and whether you were doing well. She chuckled softly. But now, you're standing in front of me, and I don't need to find out. I don't like to use my brain, and with you here, I don't need to think about anything. We're just like before. Sun Lang smiled. Since you don't want to talk about the Great Barren Mountain, then let's talk about everyone's recent situation. Zhao Yunlong chuckled. The things you left behind, Wei Zhongxian is taking care of for you. He said that since you gave him such a name, he has to be worthy of this name. Yu Buchuan resigned to travel the world. He said that one day he will become the second swordsman in the world and let the ordinary people in the world know that there is one person who is the real number one in the world. I don't know what Sima Yi is doing sneakily, but you also know that other than you, he doesn't care about anyone else. 2 years ago, Gao Qiu and Tongguan were crazily tracking your whereabouts, but because their ranks were too low, they couldn't find anything. They felt that they were too weak, so they agreed to enter the official career and made an agreement. The ranger raised his hand and interrupted her. Anyway, everyone is doing well, right? And there's no need to talk about it. If you talk about it again, I can't be cruel. Of course, there are also people who are not happy. Although there are countless rewards, although they take care of their old friends, although they are famous, there are only a group of widows and women holding swords and spears, holding up the lintel. Zhao Yunlong whispered. Rongwa Mansion, Sun Lang calmly said. Chow Patao, shut up. This time, Chow Patao didn't listen obediently, but whispered one more sentence. How long can you hide it? Sun Lang, the world is unpredictable, and fate is like a net. Our fate is intertwined, and your fate is also intertwined with the empires. As long as you are still in this world, there will be a day when you face it directly. She patted Sun Lang's shoulder. At that time, I will stand by your side as usual, and I believe many people will do the same. But are you ready? Chapter 155. The night was chilly, and the moon hung high in the sky. The commotion in Mingzhou had calmed down. Everyone was silent, and everyone was asleep. Sun Lang and Zhao Yunlong were done talking. Tiredness overtook them, and they decided to rest. They walked side by side into the backyard, when Zhao Yunlong suddenly bumped his shoulder and pouted in the direction of the courtyard. The ranger was startled. He glanced at Zhang Yinluo's courtyard, then shook his head with a smile and gestured to Zhao Yunlong. Old Zhao pursed his lips and smiled, waving his hand. Sun Lang stepped into the courtyard and saw the moonlight shining down on the white stone steps, illuminating a lonely figure. Yin Luo was hugging her knees and sitting on the steps in a daze. She didn't enter the house and just sat there in a daze like an abandoned animal. Her face was filled with confusion and helplessness, making her look extremely pitiful. She heard the sound of footsteps and looked up to see Sun Lang. Her face was filled with joy at first, but then she turned her head to the side and said, "Humph, why are you not sleeping with your cleanly washed comrade? What are you doing here? What, do you think your bed isn't big enough and want to use my room?" The ranger laughed and sat down beside Zhang Yinluo. He reached out and patted the girl's head. "Don't worry, if I wanted to do anything with Chao Patao, I would have done it long ago during the war." Zhang Yinluo pouted and pushed Sun Lang's hand away. "Don't touch me. What am I worried about? I'm not anyone to you. Why should I be worried about you?" Sun Lang raised his eyebrows and smiled. "I didn't say you were worried about me. I was talking about Chao Patao. The peerless beauty in your heart, General Zhao Yunlong, is still a pure girl who hasn't been tainted by my evil claws. Don't worry. I'm curious, Inluo. Why are you in such a hurry to deny that you're worried about me?" Hearing this, Zhang Yinluo glared at him. The inexplicable depression in her heart had unknowingly dissipated by more than half. However, the girl still refused to admit defeat. "You didn't do anything? Seeing how General Zhao was so willing to do anything to you, you actually held back and didn't do anything? And according to General Zhao, you didn't have the ability to be shameless back then. Why? Oh, I knew it. Were you afraid that General Zhao would beat you up?" Sun Lang raised his head and looked at the sky. After a moment of silence, he laughed softly. No. There was a period of time when I didn't have any lust, not at all. Don't laugh, it's true. The me back then was a model of morality, a model of the army, a perfect human being, upright, trustworthy, keeping his promises. To the enemy, I was as cold as winter, but to my own people, I was as warm as spring. I was like the sun in everyone's heart. I've never seen such a shameless person. Zhang Yinluo squinted. "I can't imagine you without any lust." A model of morality? It's true. At that time, I was thinking of ways to solve my, psychological problems. You know, veterans on the battlefield always have all kinds of psychological problems. My problem is more troublesome. After fighting on the battlefield for a long time, I will become a killing maniac who regards life as nothing. This kind of person usually doesn't live long. My situation is more serious because my psychological problems don't only come from the tireless killing on the battlefield. At that time, you wanted to live, to keep your sanity, to remember something, to live. Only by living can you do more things and make all the perseverance and sacrifice meaningful, right? Sun Lang organized his words and said softly, "At that time, I thought of all kinds of ways and made a lot of efforts. This is one of the more effective ways. Do you know, the shopkeeper who usually welcomes people with a smile and persuade customers with kind words may have a manic and dark side in private because he wants to vent the grievances during the day. A killer who kills people like scything flax is mostly an ordinary and friendly good person in his daily life. He follows the rules, is willing to help others, and never causes trouble because he also has to balance the indifference and cold-bloodedness when he works. Yes, balance. So, I try to be like a good person at that time. I was as cruel as I was in the war, and I was as friendly as I was in daily life. I made friends with everyone, listened to everyone's story, helped them as much as I could, and made friends with them. I did a lot of good things and made a lot of friends. Sometimes, when you fight side by side on the battlefield, there will be people who will treat you as a friend of life and death. Sometimes, when you charge to rescue people, hundreds of people will be grateful for your kindness. The battlefield is the best place to gain reputation. It's really true. The friendship of comrades who rely on each other for life and death, the prestige in the army, the respect of the people, the gratitude of the people. These are simply the best medicine. But paralysis does not mean cure. After all, it's a fake thing. Once the effect of the medicine is over, the backlash will be even worse. At this point, Sun Lang's eyes flashed with a trace of indelible hatred, but he immediately recovered and restrained his emotions. He smiled and said, "That's another story." Before he finished speaking, he felt a heat on the back of his hand. Zhang Yinluo's right hand pressed on his left hand. The girl looked into Sun Lang's eyes and whispered, "Backlash? What backlash?" The ranger smiled and stretched out his hand to flick the girl's forehead. "Forbidden matters. In other words, your favorability is not enough to start this plot. Heroine, please continue to improve your favorability." Zhang Yinluo curled her lips in slight disappointment. In short, don't worry and don't be confused. Chow, Patao, and I are innocent. At that time, although my mouth was very loud, I never intended to do that kind of thing. When I think about it, I was really stupid. Sun Lang smiled. "It's late, go to sleep. If I didn't come today, would you have sat outside all night?" Zhang Yinluo blushed and muttered to herself, "I don't seem to be in the right state today. It's very strange, not like my usual self. Maybe I'm a little confused. It's all because of you, Sun Lang." She moved her gaze to the side and whispered, "I originally thought you were just a ranger with a bad character who liked to loot a burning house. At most, you had some ability, but later I found that things didn't seem to be so simple. Later, although I guess that you might be a hero of Tianyuan, at most you were a small officer who was very familiar with Hu Huaisho. But today, you and Hu Huaisho were at daggers drawn, and you had the upper hand. Today, General Zhao was not only not angry when you ordered him around, he was even willing to endure it. Sun Lang, who are you? Her voice trembled. "Why did you agree to help me? Why did you take me in? Why did you set up this firm with me? To you, what am I?" Sun Lang was slightly surprised and looked at Zhang Yinluo. The girl only gave him a stubborn side profile. It seemed that Zhang Yinluo had already realized where the problem was. In front of him, the identity of the so-called Pearl of the Zhang family in Mingzhou and the disciple of the so-called Wu Xinzi of the Spirit Vulture Palace was as laughable as a piece of paper. To be able to treat the world-famous General Zhao Yunlong as a subordinate, his identity made people not dare to delve into it. To be able to say something like, "I'm afraid of killing Hu Shouxin," so casually, his martial arts could be said to be appalling. In that case, why would such a person treat a relatively ordinary little girl so favorably? Perhaps there was only one reason. His body didn't seem to be affected by that strange power of his. The girl's body was trembling slightly. Sun Lang was dazed for a moment, and then said softly, "At that time, in order to keep my mind from being swallowed by darkness, I made a lot of efforts. In addition to the feelings of comrade in arms and utilitarianism, I also try to seek family affection. Even if it was fake, even if I was not that person, it still made me feel the long-lost warmth. Only love? Maybe there was... I don't know if it was love. I once felt peace in her arms, but for her, I had more complicated feelings. They were very complicated and not pure at all." Sun Lang stood up and came to Zhang Yinluo. He squatted down and pressed her shoulder, looking into her eyes. "What if it's you?" Chapter 156. Under the moonlight, the two looked at each other. Zhang Yinluo's heart was beating wildly, and her mouth was a little dry. She looked away and said, "W, what are you doing? Are you trying to tease me again? I'll get angry." Sun Lang smiled and said softly, "To me, Yinluo, you are a special person. You might be the first woman that I can communicate with normally in the past 2 years. No, in the past 8 years. I don't have to be wary of you or resist you. There's no hesitation or hesitation. Perhaps I was interested in you at the beginning because you were immune to my ability. But humans are different from animals. Other than desire, humans have endless feelings." He reached out and stroked Zhang Yinluo's cheek. The girl was stunned. She was mentally prepared for Sun Lang to say something like, "Yinluo, you are my sex toy," or "let's develop an improper relationship." She didn't expect this guy to not play by the rules even in this aspect. She blinked and pulled Sun Lang's hand away. She blushed and snorted, suddenly saying something like this, What are you trying to do? What are you trying to do?" The ranger smiled and took advantage of the situation to pull Zhang Yinluo's hand and said softly, I'm thinking if I came to this world in a gentler way, if I didn't start in epic difficulty, but in normal difficulty, if my experience wasn't so thrilling, then what would I be like now? The me who experienced another kind of life, who slowly became stronger, who slowly forged my own beliefs. Would I be like you now? Willing to lend a helping hand to the weak, unforgiving of evil, principled, but also a little cunning, very serious, occasionally a little naughty, full of love for this world, full of pity for the weak. He held the girl's hand in his palm and smiled faintly. I don't know. I don't know if I would have become like this if I had a more peaceful start, but everything is already irreversible. I can't understand the joy of becoming stronger. I can't understand the dignity of a warrior. I don't know the meaning of respecting an opponent. I don't understand what justice is. I don't have faith in this world. I think morality and law are all jokes because everything I have encountered has long since destroyed these things I once believed in. Therefore, to me, Yin Luo is a very special person. I like your beautiful body, and I also pay attention to the growth of your soul. You're like a shadow that I can touch. You have my regrets and my persistence. When I look at you, it's like I'm looking at another possibility. It makes me look forward to it, and I'm curious. I want to see just how far you can go, Sun Lang said softly. When I look at you, I want to laugh. I like to see you fly into a rage after being teased. When you're shy and roll your eyes, you're very cute. I don't know what this feeling is, so I can only answer you. To me, you're a very, very special person. What I like is not only your body, but also your soul. This is true. Otherwise, I would have long turned you into a sex toy. Zhang Yinluo's face was red, and her eyes were sparkling, but after hearing the last sentence, she couldn't help but roll her eyes, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. You are really, Sun Lang once again reached out to caress the girl's cheek. This time, she did not resist. Zhang Yinluo seemed to have sensed something, and her breathing became hurried. Like a cute little animal, she closed her eyes tightly. Sun Lang smiled and slowly moved his head closer. However, a muffled sound and a cry of pain came from the opposite room. The door opened wide, and Zhu Ying flew out with a wah sound, flying all the way into the courtyard. The little flower demon raised her head, looked at the two stunned people, covered her little butt, and cried, That fierce big sister with a big spear that is even thicker and longer than Big Sister XN kicked me out, saying that she wants to sleep with Big Sister XN tonight, and told me to come outside. She blinked her eyes and looked at the two people who were maintaining a strange posture. Big brother Sun Lang, Big Sister Yin Luo, the two of you are... The little flower demon was stunned for a moment, then suddenly thought of Dongfang Xian's teachings one day. Her eyes lit up, and she immediately used what she had learned and asked excitedly, Do you want to play kiss? Only then did Zhang Yinluo come back to her senses. Her face flushed red at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the color of shame and indignation spread all the way to her neck. She pushed Sun Lang, who had already come over with all her might, and said loudly, Who wants to play with this guy? Play kiss. This pervert who took advantage of the chaos to say cunning words, and then took advantage of the situation. Pervert. Idiot. She seemed to be extremely shy. Not only did she push Sun Lang away, but she also raised her hand angrily and punched Sun Lang on the shoulder a few times. Then she snorted heavily, turned around, and ran back to the room. The sound of the door bolt and window still being locked rang one after another. In the end, she even issued a fierce threat. If you dare to break in, I will never talk to you for the rest of my life. Sun Lang touched his head and said, Hey, you hit me 3 times and then went into the room with your hands behind your back. Didn't you say that you would let me in from the back door in the middle of the night? That was how Patriarch Bodhi and Sun Wukong made an appointment. Go to hell. The ranger sighed and turned to look at Zhu Ying. No matter how stupid the little flower demon was, she also realized that she seemed to have disturbed Brother Sun Lang's good thing. Seeing his gaze, she immediately squatted down with her head in her hands and said pitifully, Don't use farm manure on me. Don't find terrible bees to pollinate me. Don't touch my petals, and don't look inside casually. Sun Lang rolled his eyes and said, Okay, go to sleep. A lot of things happened tonight, so much so that Sun Lang felt a little tired. He yawned and walked to his room. He also glanced at Zhao Yunlong and Dongfang Xian's room. There was no movement inside. He shook his head and said, Strange. What's wrong with Chow Patao? In the room, Dongfang Xian shouted at her sister, Hey, Zhu Ying is very cute. Why are you so fierce? She is my sister, and also your sister. Zhao Yunlong glanced at her lightly and said, What logic? Is my husband your husband? Dongfang Xian was tongue-tied. Hey, but General Zhao no longer paid attention to her. She looked at her hand, looked out of the window, and listened to the sound of Sun Lang walking back to his room alone. For some reason, a faint smile appeared on her face. Strange, what's wrong with me? Zhang Yinluo leaned against the door, breathing heavily in the dark, trying to calm her chaotic mood. She tightly covered her hot face, then turned around and continued to knock her head on the door. This guy. I hate him. I hate him. I hate him. Yinluo is a very special person to me. This sentence suddenly came to her mind. Then, she giggled to herself. After giggling for a while, she suddenly raised her head. Wait a minute, if this guy went back to sleep, then would General Zhao... what does this have to do with me? What does it have to do with me, who he sleeps with? No, I don't care about him. I care about General Zhao's safety. Yes, that's it. With this kind of mood, the girl tiptoed to the door and quietly came to the courtyard. She climbed up the wall and began to peek at the scene over there. The lights haven't been turned off yet. General Zhao is in Dongfang Xian's room, but I can't let my guard down. I'll take a look again and observe a bit more. Just like that, the night passed peacefully. Chapter 157. The next day, everyone saw Zhang Yinluo with a tired face, yawning and sleepy eyes making breakfast for everyone. Sun Lang looked at Zhang Yinluo a few times and said, Didn't you sleep all night last night? Why? Rolling around in bed happily and giggling. When Zhang Yinluo saw Sun Lang, she instinctively took 2 steps back and shouted, No. Dongfang Xian passed by and stretched. So you rubbed too much? No. Zhang Yinluo roared. Where did you learn these nonsense at such a young age? Dongfang Xian raised her hand and pointed at Sun Lang, then squinted and said, Don't you understand? Before Zhang Yinluo had time to react, Zhu Ying came out of the kitchen with a plate of small steamed buns and said with a smile, I know. Last night, Yinluo's sister was lying on the wall, and Zhang Yinluo was distributing chopsticks. Hearing this, she clenched a bamboo chopstick and smiled gently. Zhu Ying, nothing. The little flower demon was silent. She covered her mouth tightly, put the plate in her hand on the table, and ran away. I'm going to wash clothes. There was no need for her to eat human breakfast. Anyway, Dongfang Xian would shoot a little every now and then. Watching Zhu Ying run away, Zhang Yinluo still maintained a decent and elegant smile and looked at Dongfang Xian. Let's eat. The little girl shivered inexplicably. I know, really, you're acting like this again. After the mysterious wife aura worked again, Zhang Yinluo turned her eyes to Sun Lang. You also, with a bang, Sun Lang directly stretched out his hand and flicked Zhang Yinluo's forehead. Suddenly, the girl's mysterious aura was broken without a trace. She suddenly dodged back and put on a defensive posture. You, what do you want to do? Sun Lang sighed, reached out and pressed Zhang Yinluo's shoulder and pressed her to sit on the chair. Let's eat. If you didn't sleep well last night, go and make up for it later, understand? You have to take care of your body. Zhang Yinluo was stunned for a moment. Then she blushed and stammered, It's none of your business. I know it. I will definitely take care of my body. Dongfang looked at the two with a suspicious expression. Did something happen between you two last night? I feel that your relationship is better. Sun Lang gave her a thumbs up. Of course. As the saying goes, as long as you work hard, a day as husband and wife is 100 days of devotion. Last night, something indescribable happened between Yinluo and I. Zhang Yinluo roared. Nonsense. Last night you stayed in the room alone and slept until dawn. Zhao Yunlong finished her morning exercise and freshened up. Wearing a moon-white dress, she came to the dining room and looked at the frozen atmosphere in front of her. What's the matter? Nothing. Considering the mood of a certain girl, Sun Lang very considerately waved his hand. Chow Patao, don't worry about it. Sit down and eat. I guess old who made such a big noise last night. Not to mention the imperial astronomer. Even the officialdom of Mingzhou is annoyed by him. Most likely, they will find you to take the blame. Today, you have to go to Zhongyi Tower. No. Zhao Yunlong scooped porridge for herself and picked up a steamed bun. Let him come and invite me. This was caused by him, and he made you angry. He has to come and apologize to you. The ranger was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, You guy, why are you even more narrow-minded than me? In the end, old who did it for my own good. Don't blame him. Besides, I've already beaten him up. What else can I be angry about? Between us, when it's time to hit, we'll beat him up, and when it's time to help, we'll reach out and help. Look, isn't there someone here? There was a knock on the door outside. Sun Lang walked over and opened the door. After a ranger saw Sun Lang, he smiled and cupped his hands. Brother, on the orders of President Hu, I invite you over. Invite me? Sun Lang was slightly startled. Why are you inviting me over? Didn't you say you wanted to invite someone else? President Hu said that he only invited you, the ranger replied. It said that because of the change in Taoist by Shui's injury, President Hu asked you to discuss it and take a look. Sun Lang nodded. I see. Then, my friend, you go back first. I'll pack up and give some instructions. I'll go to Zhongyi Tower in a while. After sending the ranger away, Sun Lang frowned and said, What the hell is Hu Shouxin doing? Forget it. Since that's the case, I'll go. Although I don't have any friendship with that Taoist priest, his injury is more or less related to me. I can't leave him alone. Chow Patao, since old who didn't call you, you can stay here for the time being. Take a rest and do whatever you want. In Luo, remember take a nap after eating. I'll let Chow Patao supervise you. After giving some instructions, Sun Lang quickly finished the rest of the breakfast and quickly went out. Zhang Yinluo watched Sun Lang leave. Although she looked very calm on the outside, her heart was beating wildly. She still hadn't recovered from the shock just now, or rather, she hadn't since last night. What did this guy mean by what he said last night? Was he serious or not? Why was he acting so strange today? It was really a little strange that he didn't say those nonsensical words. He was so cunning. This guy said such irresponsible words last night, but today he acted as if nothing had happened. The girl bit the chopsticks in her mouth and was in a daze. Suddenly, someone patted her shoulder. She looked up and saw Zhao Yunlong looking at her indifferently. You heard what Sun Lang said, right? Eat and then sleep. Why do I feel like there's something wrong with General Zhao today? Is it my imagination? On the other side, Sun Lang left the immortal fishing tower. After taking a few steps, he had a faint smile on his face. Ha ha ha. Ha, roar, 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 roar. In Luo, that lass has obviously been shaken by my domineering aura to the point that her delicate body is trembling. I knew it. The power of healthcare was a joke of fate. The heavens were jealous of my charm and handsomeness, so they forced it on me to prevent me from interacting with girls normally. The facts prove that it was indeed so. Look at Luo. He's not affected by the power of the great healthcare, but isn't he still captivated by me and can't control himself? If he worked harder, the L18 storyline would be just around the corner. A mysterious smile appeared on his face, scaring the passers-by into avoiding him. Suddenly, the sound of horse hooves could be heard in front of him, and a Seven Treasures fragrance carriage was coming towards him. A delicate hand lifted the curtain door, and a beautiful face that was both happy and angry at the same time poked out from inside, shouting, Sun Lang! Sun Lang! Here! Where are you going? Sun Lang looked over and then smiled. Miss Zhao, long time no see. Chapter 158. That young girl with an air of nobility was the eldest miss of Marquis Jinggan Fu, Zhao Feihuang. Just like the classic plot of the story, in the past, she was a villain with her own difficulties. In the process of opposing the male lead, she continuously met with failure. In the end, Sun Lang forgave her and saved her with the power of love and gentleness. After shedding a large amount of emotional tears, Ms. Zhao suddenly repented and abandoned the dark for the light, causing the favorable impression to soar. It was truly worthy of celebration, worthy of celebration. At this time, Ms. Zhao narrowed her bright eyes, a smile in her eyes. Her charm was gentle, and her bearing was enchanting. She waved her hand towards Sun Lang and said, "Sun Lang, come up to talk." Sun Lang did not hold back. Under the strange gaze of the carriage driver, he openly boarded the rich young lady's BMW. The young girl's faint body fragrance mixed together with the faint fragrance sprinkled in the carriage, causing people to feel refreshed. After Sun Lang entered the carriage, he discovered that there was another person sitting in front of him. She was wearing a long lake green dress. After looking at him with a complicated expression, she turned her head to the side. This was the pet that came with Miss Zhao's strategy, the loyal dog housekeeper big sister Su Qingwan. According to the plot's plot, this big sister's age scene was mostly a supporting role in a three-piece scene. Su Qingwan suddenly sighed. "Why are your eyes always so easy to read? Eldest miss, won't you consider it a bit more? Isn't that a good thing?" Zhao Feihuang pulled on Sun Lang's sleeve and had him sit down with a smile. Then she winked at her big sister Su. For a man, having desire is a good thing. Only with desire can you have motivation. Only then can you work hard. Only then can you possess. Only then can you obtain even more things. As a qualified and virtuous wife, the way of a good wife is very important. Sun Lang is ambitious. I can't be happier. Su Qingwan sighed again. "Miss, are you sure this is ambition?" Young girls who were in love were always blind. How could they possibly listen to other people's words? Zhao Feihuang looked at Sun Lang a few times and suddenly wrinkled her cute little nose. She gently breathed in a few breaths, and her expression was intoxicated and surprised. "I haven't seen you for a few days, but I feel that the power that attracts me from you has become stronger." Sun Lang's expression changed slightly. "It seems that yesterday's incident with the horned tiger made me." Fortunately, Zhao Feihuang did not notice Sun Lang's abnormality. She sighed and said, "Yeah, it's only been 3 or 4 days, but it feels like a long time has passed." Sun Lang nodded and said, "I have the same feeling. If we were in the novel, we probably haven't met for more than 40 chapters." Miss Zhao blinked. What did Sun Lang say? "No, it's nothing." Sun Lang waved his hand and asked, "Miss Zhao, are you busy today? Why are they heading in this direction?" "I'm here to see Sun Lang, of course." Zhao Feihuang blushed, but she still straightforwardly stated the purpose of her visit. Last night, there was lightning and thunder in Mingzhou City. According to Sister Su, it seemed that Hu Huaishou was using the Imperial Army to break the barrier. I sent people out to inquire about it, but the information I got was all ambiguous. But Hu Huaishou is your friend, right? You noticed it last night, too, and you couldn't have sat still. So, I was worried that you might go out to check and run into danger. So, I've been very worried. The people I sent out reported that none of you were there. I wanted to go out and find you in person, but I was stopped by Sister Su. She glanced at Su Qingwan, and there was still some sadness in her eyes. Sister Su said that Sun Lang was very powerful and wouldn't run into any danger. Even if you ran into a difficult enemy, we could only play a limited role, so we shouldn't cause you any trouble. I thought that Sister Su was right, so I didn't act rashly. In the end, the people I sent out reported that you had returned to the immortal fishing tower safely. Sun Lang glanced at Miss Zhao. The girl's eyes were indeed full of worry and affection, but there was also a trace of well-concealed sadness. He thought for a moment and understood. It seemed that the spy didn't just report that they had returned to the immortal fishing tower safely. After all, he and Zhang Yinluo had been going back hand in hand last night. She must not have slept well last night. Sun Lang was silent for a moment, and then said with a smile, "Thank you very much. Over the years, I've known many people all over the world, but there are not many people who are really worried about my safety. It seemed that this short sentence made all the sadness and disappointment in Zhao Feihuang disappear without a trace, and made her eyes shine with a charming light again. She shook her head hard and said, "It's okay. Sometimes, it's also a happy thing to have someone to worry about. I used to only have Sister Sue in my eyes, and I only cared about her. Now, there's one more person to worry about. Speaking of this," she smiled forcefully and said, "Well, let's not talk about this. Sun Lang, where are you going?" Sun Lang's heart skipped a beat. "I have something to do at the Zhongyi Tower. Can I trouble you to take me along the way?" "Of course." Miss Zhao's eyes shone. She couldn't wait for Sun Lang to trouble her with everything. The girl directly jumped up and jumped to the door of the carriage and shouted outside, "Uncle Li, to the Zhongyi Tower." The coachman's loud response came from outside. The whip cracked, the horse neighed, and the horse moved forward. Zhao Feihuang's face was red as she sat next to Sun Lang. She stretched out her little finger and gently poked the ranger's shoulder. "Come, try it now. And it's still very comfortable, but it's not too strong." Then the palm. "In. If you just hold it directly, it's still a little. Miss. Sister Sue also wants to try it. It's very comfortable. These few days, I've carefully honed the power of that magic tool, so I can resist it a little. But if Sister Sue wants to try it, I'm not going to try it." "You guy, don't laugh. What kind of perverted cultivation method did you practice?" Laughing and joking all the way, the carriage passed through the streets and finally stopped next to the Zhongyi Tower. Sun Lang stood up and turned to look at Zhao Feihuang. The girl raised her head and looked at him with pitiful eyes. She whispered, "Do you want us to wait for you here? After you're done, I'll send you back." Sun Lang's heart skipped a beat, and he unexpectedly asked, "Do you want to come with me?" Zhao Feihuang's eyes suddenly flashed with a strong surprise. "Can I? Won't I trouble you?" The ranger smiled and said, "No. It's better to say that you can help me with something if you go together. When I see old Hu, it won't be too awkward." Zhao Feihuang nodded and clenched her small fist. "I will definitely perform well." After the three people got off the carriage, the ranger who came to report earlier was already waiting at the door. He also recognized the eldest miss of Marquis Jingon Fu. After bowing, he led them upstairs. Sun Lang looked at the Zhongyi Tower that was even more lively than it was a few days ago, and asked, "I thought that people from all over Mingzhou City would trample over this door, and your guild head, who would also be in a terrible fix from last night until now. There have been many important people who have sent out inquiries." Guild head, who has already responded to them one by one. As for the other small characters, they aren't worth mentioning. There's no need to pay attention to them. Let them spy on us. The ranger roughly said a few words, but that Taoist by Shui's injuries are not optimistic, so Guildhead, who sent me to invite you to discuss. The two people arrived at the guest room on the third floor. Before they even got close, they heard a voice from inside. "You guys don't need to worry. My Xingyang Palace has 8 kinds of skills, such as subduing demons, exorcism, divination, medical strategies, and so on. This poor Taoist has also learned medical skills and can treat injuries. My cultivation is very balanced and not biased. This poor Taoist's injuries, I am clear. Although it is not optimistic, it can still be controlled in the short term. As for the future, this poor Taoist has already sent a request for help to my sect a few days ago, and had the golden-winged Peng bring it over. Do you know the golden-winged Peng? It's a ferocious bird in the sky, a strange beast in the world. Other than the sword-tailed eagle, there are no other birds in the sky that can compete with it. Even if you can't beat it, you can still run. My sect must have already received the news and are rushing here. This poor Taoist's injuries can definitely be treated, so you guys don't need to worry. This time. Chapter 159. Hearing this, Zhao Feihuang chuckled and said, "This Taoist priest's words are interesting." Before Sun Lang could answer, Hu Shouxin's voice came from inside. "Taoist priest, I found several famous healers in Mingzhou, and they all said that it's not easy to cure your wound. Don't be so stubborn. When I was on the battlefield, I saw many soldiers who were injured by demonic weapons. Many of them were like you, with a hole in their bodies. Your wound can't be delayed any longer. While you're still well, I'll take you to Daiju Temple. No, I won't. Taoist priest by Shui refused. I'm a Taoist disciple. How can I go to a temple? Not to mention a nun's temple. If my master finds out, he'll slap me. I've already told him that my sect has received a message. I'll be here in 2 days. In 2 days, my talismans and pills can suppress the injury. There's no need to go to a place like Daiju Temple. You've been injured by a demon's demonic power. It's hard to cure you with medicine in the mortal world. The nuns in Daiju Temple are cultivators. Mingzhou is the nearest place, and only they know how to cure you. It'll be too late to go back and forth. Hu Shouxin's voice gradually became impatient. Who knows if your golden-winged condor can deliver the letter? If you're seriously injured and die, I'll also be implicated. Donor Hu, you're so unreasonable. Why are you cursing me for no reason? I'm a professional Taoist priest. Do you know what professional means? How can I die? Taoist Master White Snow argued with reason. After a few words, he turned to his professional knowledge. Judging from your face, you look haggard and depressed. You must have done something bad with good intentions recently. Not only did you mess up everything, but you were also beaten up. You had no one to reason with, so you were full of grievances and didn't know what to do. You also made a lot of trouble. But it seems to be a scary situation. You should go home early and have a good rest. Don't keep pestering me. Damn you. Old Hu's sore spot was poked, and he said coldly, You evil Taoist who spouts nonsense, your mouth is really annoying. If it wasn't for Sun Lang's words, Taoist priest by Shui straightened his neck and shouted, Then let's ask Master Sun to be the judge. Master Sun is a considerate, enthusiastic, and sincere person. If it's him, he'll definitely reason with you. Sun Lang? Considerate? Enthusiastic and sincere? Reason with him? Bah, when this little bastard doesn't understand reason. The speed at which he changes his face and punches people is faster than anyone else. Seeing that the argument was about to escalate, Sun Lang. He opened the door. Hey kids, do you remember who I am? When Taoist by Shui heard Sun Lang's voice, his face lit up. He raised his head and saw Sun Lang. Then, wretch, Hu Shouxin looked at Sun Lang with a subtle expression. Did you feed him something? It's already a conditioned reflex. Go away. Sun Lang skillfully took out a gas mask and put it on his face. Then he took a few steps forward and walked to the bedside. A strong smell of medicine and a faint smell of blood hit his face. Priest by Shui's face was pale and his expression was weak. He was lying on the bed. His voice was muffled because of the gas mask. Priest, you don't seem to be in a good condition. Taoist by Shui's expression softened a little. This injury is indeed not light, but it doesn't matter. I have already sent a message back. Within 2 days, there will be expert from the sect coming to help and treat this Taoist. That's the crux of the problem. Hu Shouxin said from behind. Sun Lang, since you're here, I'll just say it. Taoist priest, I'm afraid you won't be able to send the letter back. What do you mean? Taoist priest by Shui said angrily. The one who sent the letter is a golden-winged eagle raised by my Zhenyang palace. It's extremely fast, powerful, fierce, and powerful. It's invincible in the sky. Such a king of the sky. Even if it met a fierce bird, how could it lose? Moreover, it flies at an extremely high altitude and is smart and cunning. Even if there are archers shooting arrows from below, they won't be able to hurt it. Tell me, with such a huge advantage, how could it not be sent back? The only thing that can threaten it is the sword-tailed eagle. Have you seen the sword-tailed eagle? I'm afraid you haven't even heard of it. I've never seen it. Hu Shouxin picked his nose and said slowly, Is it black all over with eyes like golden pearls, feathers like blades, tail like a long sword, and a little white under its chest? Taoist priest by Shui was slightly shocked. How did you know? Hu Huaishou sighed. Back then, that horned tiger also sent a letter back and said something similar to what you said. He said that the sword-tailed eagle was invincible in the sky, except for the golden-winged eagle. The poor Taoist priest's beard trembled. He stammered, When? Hu Shouxin looked up at the sky. The day before yesterday, in the afternoon, At the end of the afternoon, Taoist priest by Shui's expression slowly became unsettled. He grabbed his beard and said with a trembling voice, Don't panic. How could it be so coincidental? Let me calm down. That's it. Hu Shouxin looked at Sun Lang. Although there is no evidence that the two feathered beasts collided and then fought each other to the death, I think we should consider this possibility. This Taoist priest's talisman and medicine can only last for a few days. If he doesn't receive treatment during this period, his injury will worsen uncontrollably. By then, it will be too late to think of a solution. Sun Lang nodded. That's right. With today's medical technology, ordinary doctors can't effectively treat such a large penetrating wound. We must think of a solution as soon as possible. Where's Long Air now? Don't think about it. After the war, he entered the Imperial Hospital and is sparing no effort in teaching apprentices and training doctors. Even if we inform him now, he won't be able to make it in time. The ranger shook his head. What about Miracle Dr. Liu? He ran away. That guy said something about healing can't save the people of the Empire. Then, I don't know where he ran off to. I guess he went to find a good medicine. What about Angela? She returned a long time ago. The war is over. Why would these foreign special task forces stay in the Empire? Those who should have left. Angela said that although the war with the Sky Demon has ended, conflicts still occur in every corner of the world. Therefore, she wants to go back and help the people who have lost their homes and suffered in the war. Sun Lang asked a few more names. Hu Shouxin waved his hand and said, Don't count on them. Time is limited. I think only the nuns from Deju Temple can treat the injuries. No. Taoist by Shui, who was muttering to himself, heard the words Deju Temple and immediately came back to his senses. He shouted loudly, as if that place was a terrifying demon's den and he would rather die than take a step into it. We can't go to Deju Temple. I'm not going to Deju Temple. There are people who are more terrifying than death there. We have a grudge against them. Grudge. Sun Lang blinked. Bald donkey, how dare you steal my nuns? No. Taoist by Shui's eyes flashed with a trace of fear. In Deju Temple, there's a very scary demon monk. Legend has it that she can tear the sky apart with one punch and crack the earth with one stomp. If you accidentally enter, no matter how strong your martial arts are, you will be like a piece of mud in her hands. The only outcome is death. Sun Lang and Hu Shouxin looked at each other and laughed. Then, they waved their hands together. Come, prepare a sedan chair for Taoist by Shui. I'm not going. I won't go even if I die. Taoist by Shui hissed. Don't force me. I'd rather bang my head on the bed and die. In the midst of the chaos, Zhao Feihuang, who had been obediently standing at the back, raised his hand weakly. Are you looking for a powerful doctor? I have someone in mind. Chapter 160. In Yinyuan Village, which is 15 kilometers west of Mingzhou City, there lives an otherworldly master who calls himself Dr. Eccentric. Zhao Feihuang explained. He has an eccentric temperament, but his medical skills are excellent. Maybe he can cure Taoist by Shui's injury. Dr. Eccentric? Sun Lang rolled his eyes. Is it Blackjack? Hu Shouxin frowned. I seem to have heard of such a person, but he is not famous and mysterious. He asks for a lot of treatment fees and rarely meets people. It is said that this Dr. Eccentric is separated from the patient by a wall. He leaves a small hole to observe the patient's complexion and a small door to feel the pulse. Then he prescribes medicine and leaves instructions and drives people away with money. When he encounters a difficult patient, he will order the patient to take anesthetic and sleep for a few days. No one is allowed to visit him or watch the treatment process. The paladin touched his chin. So lecherous. It sounds like the plot of a novel. That's why this senior strange doctor is not well known. Zhao Feihuang sighed. First of all, the fee he charges is too high, and it all depends on his mood. The richer he is, the higher the price he charges. Even so, it's fine. Just like what Hu Huaishou said, when he meets a critically ill patient, he asked the patient to take anesthetic and let the strange doctor treat him at will. Who would be willing to put their lives in the hands of a mysterious doctor without any precaution, let alone us girls? Anyway, even if I die, I won't accept the treatment like this. Shoshin shook his head. Forget it. Even if this eccentric doctor does have some skills, he is just an ordinary doctor. How can he treat the injury left by the demon? Let's not waste time and send him to Deju Temple. Judging from the result, the practitioners in Deju Temple were more confident and experienced in dealing with the wounds left by the demons. However, Stick, who had his own selfish motives, since Deju Temple was a dangerous place, Stick, who should definitely send him there to watch the fun. Translator's thoughts: Lu_Kaishian, Lu_Kaishian, Lu_Kaishuan as for that demonic monk who could tear the sky apart with a single punch. No matter how demonic she was still a nun, right? Since she was a woman, let alone a demonic monk. Even if Guan Yin appeared, how could she be Sun Lang's opponent? Sun Lang turned around expressionlessly. I feel like you're talking bad about me in your heart. Hu Shoshin laughed dryly and was about to defend himself when Taoist Bai Shui heard the words Deju Temple and almost jumped up. Wait, hold on. Let's go take a look at that senior strange doctor. I'm a monk. I am indifferent to life and death. I am detached from worldly affairs. I'm not even afraid of death and life. Why would I be afraid of drinking anesthetics and being manipulated by others? Moreover, a doctor has the heart of a parent. Senior strange doctor wouldn't do anything to me, right? Stick, who frowned and said, even so, what if it can't be cured? When the time comes and they say they can't cure him, it will be too late to send him to Deju Temple. The ranger also wanted to see the world in chaos. I won't do anything to you. Is it really okay, even if we encounter the tears of the chrysanthemum blossoms? It's all right. Taoist Bai Shui said loudly. Then he showed a suspicious look. Is there anything wrong with the poem you just recited? Seeing the chrysanthemum blooming for the second time made me shed the tears I shed in the past. This is talking about the feelings of homesickness. The words are meaningful and meaningful. Is there any problem? I feel that Master Sun is referring to something else. Sun Lang waved his hand and said, No. Your interpretation is completely correct. Only a lascivious person would think the wrong way. The Taoist Bai Shui nodded and then sighed. I know that Master who is doing it for my own good, but I really don't have the courage to go to the Deju Temple. So, let's go take a look at that senior strange doctor first. If he has the ability, he can stabilize his injury there. I will write a letter to Xingyang Palace to ask for help and wait for my sect to send someone to treat him. If that senior strange doctor's ability is limited, then I will go to the Deju Temple. How about it? Sun Lang and Hu Shoshin looked at each other and nodded. In the end, the reason why this Taoist Bai Shui would suffer this much was because of the matter between the two of them. They were somewhat involved, so this time they should go along with his wishes. So the ranger turned his head and said to Zhao Fei Huang, Could I trouble Miss Zhao to bring us there? Miss Zhao naturally did not have any reason to refuse. She smiled, but I have to make it clear first. That senior strange doctor has a strange temperament. The consultation fee is easy to negotiate, but the crux of the problem is that whether the senior strange doctor agrees to treat or not, it all depends on his mood. Fortunately, this senior received my family's grace a few years ago and will still give Marquis Jingon Fu some face. In short, I will do my best. If it doesn't work, don't blame him. Sun Lang looked at Taoist Bai Shui with a smile that was not a smile. Truthfully, he also wanted to see what kind of delightful things this Taoist Bai Shui would encounter when he went to the Deju Temple. But seeing that he was injured, it was better to forget about it. Since Miss Zhao has a way, I won't go. Hu Shoshin saw that the matter had been settled and said, There are still some loose ends from yesterday's matter that have not been dealt with cleanly. Sun Lang said faintly, How will you deal with the imperial astronomer? Stick, who smiled, I'll deal with it however I should and push all the blame onto that demon. Right now, the situation in the imperial court is delicate. Pulling one hair will affect the whole situation. No matter which power it is, they will not be willing to pursue this small matter against me. After all, our Tianyuan martial merit is not to be trifled with. No matter who it is, they will not be willing to provoke the disgust of the heroes of Tianyuan at this time. At most, they will send a few people to go through the motions and deal with it casually. Sun Lang was not interested in the affairs of the imperial court at all. The factional strife and intrigue had nothing to do with him. But the paladin suddenly thought of something. What about the demon? Hearing the paladin mention the dead Xie, Taoist Bai Shui's face changed, and he could not help but sigh. However, Sun Lang and Hu Shouxin looked as usual. The life or death of a demon was nothing to these two heroes of Tianyuan who were used to death. They were more concerned about the consequences of the death of the horned tiger. Hu Shouxin thought for a moment and said, "The best case is that the saber-tailed eagle who delivered the letter and the golden-winged eagle perished together. The organization of the demons does not know what happened. Then we can take the opportunity to spread the news and push the blame onto Chao Patao. We can say that when Chao Patao was looking for his sister, he happened to meet this demon who wanted to catch Zhu Ying and almost hurt his sister. As a result, the saber-tailed eagle was angered and killed on the spot. Even those demons will have to suffer in silence. Maybe they will have to apologize to Chao Patao. But if the saber-tailed eagle delivers the letter, things will be a little troublesome. That's not what I'm talking about." Sun Lang glanced at Taoist Bai Shui. When he talked with the Taoist for a while, he had a vague guess. At that time, the demon race wanted to take advantage of the war of Tianyuan to form an alliance with the extraterrestrial sky demon to wipe out the human race. However, they were scolded by the extraterrestrial sky demon, who said, "All I see as an enemy." Then, they pinched their nose and turned to seek an alliance with the human race. Although the truth of the matter was not known to the soldiers back then, some of the generals were aware of it. Now that the human race had won a great victory and the military power of the empire was still at its peak, it was strange that the empire did not take advantage of the victory to wipe out those two-faced demons. Instead, it held back its troops and did not pursue the matter of the past. At first, he had thought that the fiendish demons had decided to give up and hide in the depths of the mountains after realizing that things were not going well for them. They planned to hole up for a few decades so that the empire would not be able to find them. However, the horned tiger had actually swaggered into Mingzhou City without any intention of hiding its tracks. That it was able to swagger so openly proved that it was no coincidence that the fiendish demons had escaped after the war. Maybe someone in the imperial court made a deal with them and protected them. After all, it was that guy who advocated peace with the demon race and fought against the demons together. Forget it. Even if he told old Hu now, he would never believe him. Instead, he would find out something was wrong. It was better to wait and see first. Anyway, if it was that guy, he would not be in any danger. After all, she could not wait to curry favor with old Hu and the others. Chapter 161. The Inyuan village was more than 15 kilometers west of Mingzhou City. It was not too far to travel by horse, but Taoist Bai Shui was seriously injured and could not stand the bumps, so they had to use a palanquin. Fortunately, the weather was cool today, and the palanquin bearers sent by Miss Zhao from the House of Marquis was also a strong man. Even so, it took about 6 to 8 hours to travel 15 kilometers, including the rest time. They had lunch on the way. When they arrived at the hidden Yuan village, it was already afternoon. The group of people stopped at the entrance of the village and got off their horses. Some brave village women and children looked at the group of knights with fear and curiosity in their eyes. Steward Su ordered, "For people carry the palanquin and follow us up. The rest of you wait here and rest. Don't disturb the villagers." The knights answered with a roar. They chose 4 people with the best physical strength and sufficient rest to carry the palanquin. The others took out dry food and water to eat. Those who were not hungry went to the village to buy fodder from the farmers. Zhao Feihuang smiled at Sun Lang. "Let's go. The strange doctor lives on the mountain. It's still 2 or 3 kilometers away." The village was surrounded by mountains and rivers, and the scenery was quite beautiful. They walked up the mountain along the path. Sun Lang looked around and chatted with Miss Zhao casually. Is the strange doctor a man or a woman? According to the general plot of the story, since he calls himself a strange doctor, he must have a strange hobby. Is he a beautiful girl who is good at curing diseases with poisons? Zhao Feihuang giggled. I have to disappoint Sun Lang. Senior Strange Doctor is not a big girl, and what he is good at is not using poisons to diagnose and treat illnesses. Furthermore, his personality is very strange character. Sun Lang smiled. I've seen a lot of doctors with strange temperaments but great abilities. Some of them lost every bet and made people want to play mahjong with them. Some of them had a poisonous tongue and liked to carve the word morning on their enemies' foreheads. Some of them liked to eat tofu pudding very much. Some of them felt very impatient because there were more and more injured people, so they roared and put on their armor, picked up their magic wand, and went to the battlefield with a small pistol. Zhao Feihuang smiled and said, Are they all Sun Lang's comrades in arms? Judging from your tone, they all have a good relationship with you? No. Some are, some aren't. Some have a good relationship with each other, and some don't like each other. Sun Lang was silent for a moment and smiled. And one of them, Before he finished speaking, a whistle came from the front. The treetops rustled, and a petite figure came down from the sky. Sister Zhao, why are you here again? Sun Lang took a closer look. His instinct as an experienced driver made him immediately look at the newcomer from head to toe. First, he looked at the chest. Well. If flat breasts were a rare resource, then this must be a super rare strategic resource of the SSSR level. Even if he had to use his army to seize the territory of a neighboring country, he would have to get his hands on it. However, Sun Lang was not interested in this. Therefore, flat breasts were a very dangerous hobby. It would create a terrible crisis for a man's sexual orientation. Think about it. Liking flat breasts meant that it doesn't matter if you have breasts or not, and this view would soon evolve into even if it's a boy, it would be fine as long as he is cute. In this way, the hobby of the flat breast party would transform from liking cute girls to liking girls' big cock. In the end, they would become perverts who could not survive without a black uncle's big cock. Over time, the number of men who liked girls would decrease from generation to generation. In the end, human beings would perish. Therefore, in summary, every guy who liked flat breasts would have to bear the responsibility for the future extinction of human beings. Therefore, flat breasts and big cock were evil for a while. Breasts were the classics that would be passed down forever. Sun Lang, who had once again strengthened his belief and cultivated his sentiments, continued to look at the newcomer. The other party was petite, had weak limbs, a delicate face, and a clear voice, like the cry of a young phoenix. She was clearly a flat-chested girl. Wait, didn't Miss Zhao say that the strange doctor was not a big girl? Oh, a little girl? A lowly wife? Or, F***CK. A Shoda? Impudent person. While he was deep in thought, a clear shout was heard. A silver light flashed, and 3 silver needles pierced through the air. Sun Lang casually waved his hand and caught the 3 needles in his hand. He looked at the needles and said, I only took a few glances. I did not reveal any lewd expression, nor did I tease you. I only observed you from an academic point of view. I have no interest in you. Even if you want to teach me a lesson, you don't have to use needles dipped in anesthetic. Little brat, after learning martial arts, you shouldn't casually use it to bully others. Every year in the martial arts world, who knows how many young heroes and heroines who happily go around the martial arts world to punish evil, but in the end, they were paralyzed by the local bullies and turned into meat toys. They all relied on their years of martial arts to not know the immensity of heaven and earth. None of your business, lecture. Seeing that Sun Lang casually caught the silver needles, the other party's face revealed a trace of fear. She then ran to Zhao Feihuang's side and pulled Miss Zhao's hand. With a vigilant look, she glared at Sun Lang. Sister Zhao, who is this person? Why are there so many people this time? When Zhao Fei Huang saw the child shooting the flying needles at Sun Lang, her face showed displeasure. Just as she was about to say a few words, she saw Sun Lang smiling and shaking his head at her. Thus, Miss Zhao's expression softened and she smiled. Sister Zhao came this time because a Taoist priest was seriously injured and wanted to ask Senior Strange Doctor to treat him. Just now. Sun Lang must have mistaken you for Senior Strange Doctor, so he was stunned. He didn't mean to be rude. I apologize on his behalf. This sentence seemed to have poked the flat-chested girl's soft spot. Her eyes suddenly lit up, and she looked at Sun Lang with sparkling eyes. Is that true? Do you really think I'm a strange doctor? Sun Lang's eyes did not even blink as he directly said, That's right. According to the normal setting, those who live in seclusion deep in the mountains, those who have superb means but are not willing to show themselves, are usually beautiful girls with unique skills. The girl's face was full of joy and she nodded vigorously, with a look of admiration. You have good taste, good taste. Just now, when I shot you with the silver needles, I thought you were a lecher. I'm really sorry. So easy to coax. Sun Lang also smiled and said, It's okay, it's okay. Usually, I'm the one who shoots others. Others can't shoot me. The girl nodded repeatedly. My name is Sima Ping, and I'm a strange doctor. Sean. D.Z. In the future, I will inherit his legacy and name. I will practice medicine to help the world, and let the world stay away from injuries and pain. I will become a famous doctor in the world. She looked at the palanquin behind the two of them and quickly jumped over. Is the patient inside? Let me see. She opened the curtain of the sedan. Taoist Bai Shui was seriously injured. In order to focus on suppressing the injury, he used a lot of energy. Plus, he had been rushing all the way, so he was drowsy at the moment. When he saw Sima Ping, he blinked and blurted out, Almsgiver, you seem to be fated to be in love. Oh my, you seem to have hysteria. You're talking nonsense. Sima Ping stuck her head in and supported her chin with her hand. She looked at Taoist Bai Shui's face and was shocked. Taoist Bai Shui, you are seriously injured. You can still hold on until now. Did you suffer a very serious injury recently? I can't treat this. I can only try my luck with my master. She put down the curtain of the sedan and turned to Zhao Fei Huang. Sister Zhao, I can't do anything about this Taoist Bai Shui's injury. After all, my master hasn't taught me the godly knife technique. I can only take you to my master and see if he is willing to treat you. Don't worry, because of your face, I will help to plead with my master. I will definitely ask my master to agree to help. Chapter 162. The strange doctor lived in a bamboo forest, and those green bamboos were the best courtyard walls, blocking the view inside and isolating the outside from peeping. Sima Ping led everyone here, and then a smile appeared on her face. She ran inside and said, Master, Sister Zhao is here. She brought a patient, and I have seen him. He must be treated by you. Sun Lang looked at the surrounding arrangement of the bamboo forest, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He also walked inside, but Zhao Fei Huang reached out to stop him and said with a smile, Senior Strange Doctor has a strange temper and doesn't like outsiders. Even I can't meet him easily. Sun Lang, please don't be impatient. Besides, Senior Strange Doctor is a very old man, and there is nothing to see. The ranger nodded noncommittally. Not long after, Sima Ping ran out from inside and waved towards them. Brothers, please carry the Taoist inside and let my master take a look. If he can be treated, then he can be treated. I'll have to trouble Sister Zhao to leave the consultation fee. If he can't be treated, then you'll have to find someone else. Speaking of this, a blush appeared on her face. This is the rule set by my master, and I can't do anything about it. Anyway, I will try my best to help him. It's good that your master doesn't want to see him. Then I will take Taoist Bai Shui to Deju Temple. By the way, I will see what the so-called evil monk is all about. Sun Lang nodded to Zhao Fei Huang. So Miss Zhao understood and said with a smile, Sister, you don't have to worry. Everything depends on fate. Life and death are determined by God. Taoist Bai Shui is a monk, and he has seen life and death lightly. Sima Ping glanced behind her, and saw that the heavily injured Taoist priest was muttering the name of the Tao ancestor to himself with a terrified expression. Clearly, he was terrified to the extreme. She thought to herself, what kind of indifference is this to death? She waved her hand, and the 4 sedan bearers followed her and carried the sedan into the bamboo forest. Sun Lang, Miss Zhao, and Su Qingwan waited there. Sun Lang chuckled and said, "Look at how scared Taoist by Shui is. Needless to say, we'll definitely go to Deju Temple this time." That was because the injury he had suffered had penetrated his insides. The wound was huge and required surgery to treat it. On the other hand, the traditional medicine of the empire emphasizes on treating the external from the internal and understanding the internal from the external. It can treat most of the diseases other than the insect's metal wound, and the effect is pretty good. As for surgical operations like cutting and acupuncture, there's not much room for improvement. How sad. Traditional medicine is too effective, and it has restricted doctors from exploring other fields. Coupled with the suppression of public opinion and cultural traditions, it has hindered the emergence of modern medicine based on anatomy. It's the same over there, and it's the same here in the Empire. I really don't know whether to laugh or cry. He shook his head. So a strange doctor like you, perhaps you're good at looking, listening, questioning, and feeling the pulse and differentiating symptoms, but you're definitely not good at this kind of precise surgical operation. Back when I was in the army, there were only a few famous doctors who were good at this. Among them, the most talented one was still. At this moment, a hoarse voice sounded from the bamboo house, and with the help of strong internal energy, it came from afar. "Miss Zhao, this old one greets you. Marquis Jingon Manor has shown kindness to this old one, and I should treat him carefully. But this friend is a disciple of Taoism and was injured by a demon. If I treat him, it'll be easy for me to be drawn into the dispute of the demon path. This old one is afraid of death, so forgive me for not treating him. Please return." Zhao Feihuang shook her head and laughed bitterly. This strange Dr. Senior really doesn't even give me face. But she didn't notice that after hearing this strange doctor's voice, Sun Lang's expression suddenly changed. The ranger was silent for a moment. Sima Ping had already led the sedan bearers to carry Taoist by Shui out and was currently walking towards them. Sun Lang sighed and stepped forward, coldly saying, "Treat him." Sima Ping froze for a moment and hurriedly signaled to Sun Lang with her eyes. "Hey, my master always means what he says. If he says he won't treat him, then he won't treat him. Don't make him angry." Sun Lang ignored her and insipidly said, "Do you need me to say it a second time?" The wind blew through the bamboo forest, making a rustling sound. In that instant, it was as if everything had stopped and the temperature in the air dropped a few degrees. Sima Ping's eyebrows rose. She was just about to reprimand Sun Lang a few words to make him retreat when she heard the strange doctor's voice come from the bamboo forest. The hoarse voice carried the bitterness after the shock. "The injury is not light. We need to treat the area around the wound that has been contaminated by Yao power. We need good medicine and special tools. Everything needs to be prepared." Even though Zhao Feihuang didn't know what had happened, but hearing that the situation had taken a turn for the better, she cheerfully said, "Whatever medicine or equipment Elder needs, just say it. In the land of Mingzhou, there isn't anything that the Marquis of Jing'an's Fu can't buy. You can write a receipt, and I'll send someone back on a horse to buy it." The strange doctor insipidly said, "Then I'll have to trouble Miss Zhao. This old one will rest well tonight and have enough energy tomorrow to treat this Taoist injury." Sun Lang calmly said, "I'll stay in the village for a night. I'll come back tomorrow to take a look." Sima Ping looked at Sun Lang in bewilderment. She really couldn't understand how this person could change her master's mind with just one sentence. It had to be known that there were many people who came to seek treatment these past few years, and there was no lack of wealthy families. Master still demanded a high consultation fee, and whether or not he treated them all depended on his mood. After patients with power were rejected, they would also threaten in anger, but Master would always make them leave dejected. In these past few years, there had never been an exception. But why, with a heart full of confusion, Sima Ping directed the sedan bearers to bring Daoist by Shui back to the bamboo house in the forest. Daoist by Shui's grateful voice sounded from inside the sedan. Hero's son is so righteous that it reaches the clouds, so righteous that it reaches the clouds. This poor Daoist is so righteous that it reaches the clouds. This poor Taoist will never forget this benevolence of the Daiju Temple's demonic monk. Sun Lang faintly smiled and followed the sedan into the bamboo forest. Sima Ping considered her master's strange attitude and didn't say anything to stop him, but Sun Lang didn't go near. He only looked at the decorations around the bamboo house and sniffed. As if he sensed something, a trace of a mocking smile appeared on his lips. He then turned and left, leaving behind a whisper. Even if a dog goes to the ends of the earth, it can't change its habit of eating shit. After directing a few people to carry Daoist by Shui into a sick room and then sending the sedan bearers away, Sima Ping could no longer suppress the curiosity in her heart. She ran into the largest bamboo house and shouted, "Master, master, what happened to you? What's the background of that Sun Lang? How'd he make you change your mind?" This house was very big, but it was filled with all kinds of scrolls and pictures. An old man with disheveled hair was sitting in front of the desk. His eyes were in a trance, and there was even a trace of fear on his face. Sima Ping's eyes widened. She had never seen her master reveal such an expression before. In her impression, her master's eyes had always been indifferent and unwavering. His face had always been stern and resolute. He was a highly skilled doctor, and researching medicine was his life's work. There was simply nothing that could shake his conviction. She quietly walked over and pressed her master's hand. That rough but warm hand was now covered in cold sweat. For a moment, she was also a little flustered. With a trembling voice, she asked, "Master, who is that Sun Lang?" The strange doctor glanced at his disciple, raised his left hand, and touched Sima Ping's head. 2 fingers on his left hand were cut off at the base and replaced with an iron artificial finger. At this moment, the wound had already healed, but it brought him a piercing pain. The strange doctor said with an unprecedentedly serious tone, don't ask, don't be rude to him. He is the person that your master should be grateful and respect." Chapter 163. When they descended the mountain, Sun Lang walked behind them with a pensive expression. Zhao Feihuang knew that something was wrong and slowed her steps. She glanced at Sun Lang and carefully asked, "Sun Lang, do you know Senior Strange Doctor?" The ranger was silent for a moment before nodding and saying, "I know him, but I didn't think that the world is so small that I could meet him here. It really is fate making fools of people. Miss Zhao, you said that he was indebted to Marquis Jinggan Fu. What happened?" Zhao Feihuang thought about it. "About 5 years ago, when I went to visit my relatives, I met him who was heavily injured and on the verge of death. At that time, he was very pitiful. He had 2 broken fingers, and his entire body was covered in wounds. At that time, the leader of the guards advised me that this looked like a vendetta in the Jianghu. I didn't know if he was good or evil, and it was best not to get involved to avoid trouble. But Senior Strange Doctor's desire to live was very strong. He said he couldn't die. He definitely couldn't die. He asked me to save his life. In exchange, he could do things for me." Sun Lang was startled. Vendetta in the Jianghu? His entire body was covered in wounds? Someone was chasing him to kill him. At that time, we also asked, but he wasn't willing to answer. He also wasn't willing to say who was chasing him to kill him. He only said that he definitely wouldn't cause trouble for us. Zhao Feihuang hesitated, but still calmly said, "At that time, even though I was young, I was already beginning to understand. I already understood some things and knew that there were many bad people coveting me and the properties of the Marquis Fu. I wanted to protect myself and older sister Sue from the hands of these bad people, so I needed the strength and help of others." She glanced at Sun Lang and seemed to be paying attention to the ranger's expression. Seeing that Sun Lang didn't seem to care, she let out a sigh of relief and continued. So I still stood my ground and took in Senior Strange Doctor. As expected, he displayed his usefulness. His medical skills were superb, and he was proficient in medicine. Every medicine had poison. He was a brilliant doctor and at the same time a brilliant poisoner. And his martial arts were superb, and he knew many ways to kill people. The diners and guards of the Fu all privately discussed that Senior Strange Doctor's abilities seemed to be military methods. But I didn't care. Whether he was a deserter or a traitor, it had nothing to do with me. At that time, I only needed a sharp enough knife. During the time that Senior Strange Doctor stayed at the Marquis Fu, he helped me do many things that were not very good. I won't hide those things from Sun Lang. If you're willing to listen, I'll tell you all about them. They were all bad things. In order to protect myself and Sister Sue from malice and slander, I could only use similar methods to fight back. Zhao Feihuang chuckled. So I used many methods and thought of many ways. Gradually, I gained a right to speak in the Fu, had my own power, and consolidated the situation. It wasn't until the end of the war and the imperial court rewarded me that I officially took control of the Marquis Fu. My position in the Marquis Fu became impregnable. The news of my triumphant return also spread throughout Mingzhou City. When I heard that hundreds of thousands of soldiers were almost wiped out in the bloody battle in the Great Desolate Mountain, and that the sword sage of the Hutu came from the imperial capital with a sword from the west. His sword chi spread for 30,000 miles and killed the extraterritorial sky demon. Senior Strange Doctor, who hadn't drunk for 3 years, got drunk for the first time. Then, he wept bitterly in the direction of the Great Desolate Mountain and kowtowed 100 times. After dawn, he came to me to say goodbye. He said that he had killed many people and done many things for me. He had also saved my life. He had more or less repaid the favor he owed me. It was time for him to go and comfort the soul of another person in heaven. He said that he was a doctor. He had his own destiny, a sacred mission that no one could replace. After repaying me for saving his life, he said that he would do this for the rest of his life. I begged him to stay. I told him that I would never ask him to do anything that a doctor shouldn't do. Only then did he reluctantly agree to live in seclusion in the hidden Yuan village to study medical knowledge and cure diseases. I would visit him every few days. On every festival, I would send people to send gifts. If anyone had a difficult disease, I would recommend them to come to Senior Strange Doctor's place. Fortunately, although he lived in this mountain village, Senior Strange Doctor was not lonely. He took in a disciple, Sister Ping. The relationship between them was like that of a master and a disciple, but also like that of a father and a daughter. But for some reason, although Senior Strange Doctor usually taught Sister Ping some medical knowledge of pharmacology, he did not teach her the divine knife technique that he was most proud of. Sister Ping sometimes complained to me, saying that she usually begged him, but Senior Strange Doctor was unmoved. If she pestered him too much, he would fly into a rage and scold her severely, saying that he would break her legs if she dared to learn. At this point, Zhao Feihuang glanced at Sun Lang with a trace of curiosity in his eyes. Sun Lang, Senior Strange Doctor, refused to tell us his origin no matter what, but we guessed that he might be from the Tianyuan army. Now it seems that it was indeed so. You know him, don't you? Could it be that you have a good relationship with him? We're more than just friends. Sun Lang was silent for a moment, and then slowly said, "Those 2 fingers of his were chopped off by me." Zhao Feihuang was stunned. What? He asked for it. I only cut off 2 of his fingers. You should be thanking me, Sun Lang said calmly. But when you saw him, he was covered in wounds and was being chased. That's strange. Back then, I cut off 2 of his fingers and expelled him from the army. I strictly ordered the generals not to take action on their own. Who was the one who disobeyed the general's order? Miss Zhao suddenly said with tears in her eyes, Sun Lang, I'm so touched. You actually shared such a confidential matter with me. You actually trust me so much. Sun Lang smiled and said, What kind of secret is this? His register in the army has already been revoked, and his name has been removed from the 12 volumes of military policy. This is because what he did back then was too shocking and was classified as a top secret. Most of the people who knew about it have already died. Even Hu Shoshin doesn't know about it. Even if I told him about it, it would be useless. Furthermore, what is a secret? If you can't bear the consequences of telling someone about it, then that's a secret. Zhao Feihuang pouted. Really? Even if that's the case, you don't have to say it directly. You can just coax her, the ranger laughed. I'll stay here tonight. The conditions are simple and crude in the wilderness. Miss Zhao, you can go back. The girl nodded and kicked a stone with her foot. She said pitifully, if you say so, I'll go back. Do you need me to send someone to the immortal fishing pavilion and ask that big-breasted girl to warm your bed? Sun Lang laughed. If you have the ability to trick her into warming my bed, then I'll have to thank you properly. Zhao Feihuang's eyes lit up. Really? The ranger raised his hand with a smile and wanted to flick Zhao Feihuang's little head. But he remembered that if he flicked her, Miss Zhao would probably dehydrate and shrink. It would be very inappropriate. So he stopped. However, Miss Zhao's eyes flickered. She reached out, grabbed Sun Lang's right hand, and knocked on her head. Of course, the price was that the girl's face turned red and her legs went weak. She weakly let go of Sun Lang's hand and resisted the urge to fall into Sun Lang's arms. Although she wanted to feel how comfortable the ranger's warm embrace was, it was still too exciting for her now, so she stuck out her tongue. It seems that I still need to work harder, that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.